Yes, hello, I am James Rhodes. Today it's WNR612 and it's AEW Redemption. I'm not alone, a pleasure to be joined by the entire WNR team. Up first by my side for every WWE and AEW show is, of course, the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. How's it going, Jax?
Hello, yes, back for another AEW show. So, kind of keen to see how I did in this one, considering we took a slight dip with my predictions when it came to AEW last time. So we'll see how I get on with this one.
And it's funny you made it all about you, the first thing you do here. So that's strange, isn't it? Isn't
I mean, I thought
it?
that was the whole reason why you welcomed me on the show to talk
Well,
about my thoughts. But of course, please do tell us all of your thoughts on Redemption 2. I'm keen to hear.
no, no. Welcome to the Jaxie Show, featuring others. I like, I like.
I like that. I like that. Maybe we should actually stick with that.
We'll see. We'll do a poll. Up next, our resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod, ex-House of Torture member, and AEW Toxic Stanhausen. He is the last real good guy. How you know it's Monty? How's it going, man?
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Keep adding them. Keep adding them. I'm gonna keep giving you more. We might even add some pew pew to it or something. I need more and more nicknames. I don't know. I'm loving it. But hey, I do say the Jaxie and Gina show might actually hit a little bit harder, but then again, I need to be on all over there too. So why don't you just call it the Muncie show, and then we can just leave it there.
I like
What
that.
about
I
the
like that.
the Jaxie Monty Gina show featuring James? I think we're getting somewhere, aren't we? But I don't even know if that
Ah,
needs to be the title.
it rings off the tongue. It's nice.
Yeah, and anyway, last but by no means least, and it's astounding. Time is fleeting. Madness takes its toll. But listen closely, not for very much longer. I've got to keep control. It's just a jump to the left. And then a step to the right. Put your hands on your hips and bring your knees in tight. It's a pelvic thrust that really drives you insane. Let's do the time warp again. Yeah, with a bit of a mind flip, you're into the time slip, and nothing will ever be the same. You're spaced out on sensation. Let's watch AEW Redemption, and we can do the time warp again. Yes, Gina, how's it going? Come on, Gina, do the time warp for me. Dance. Go on, let's go. We're doing it.
Okay. I'll give it my best shot, but I'm glad nobody's witnessing it. Thank you for the intro yet again, James. I always enjoy your intros for me.
I always try my best, and I always like you talking a little bit longer so I can catch my breath back. So, I mean, how you doing, G? I mean, I'm interested to know. Are you happy about the AEW catch up?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm looking forward to this one. I have quite a lot of confidence that I did well. Um, but that's taken from the night. I can't really remember this far ahead, and I haven't looked at my notes. So we'll see how good I did and whether this confidence is faked.
Yeah, without a doubt. We had last left it at Forbidden Door with Will and Monet winning the Owen and Mark Briscoe earning a shit at MJF. I think that meant to be a shot. I think I mistyped there. July 1st, Dynamite, the show started backstage where John Moxley interrupted Will Ospreay celebrating with Alex Windsor and officially named him a Death Rider. He then walked into a concerned Kenny Omega and a mocking MJF. The AEW World Championship was MJF defending against Briscoe in a bloody brawl. We all remember that. After the win, MJF blasted Chicken with a Dynamite dining ring and refused to let the medics check on Briscoe. Kenny Omega arrived to protect the Chicken and challenged the Salt of the Earth to a match. MJF agreed to fight Omega next week at Beach Break, only if Omega agreed to never challenge for the titles again if he lost. So, Jack, there's a few things we have to do. We have to remember MJF is champion at this moment in time. And at the point Kenny Omega said, if I don't win, I'll never challenge. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was a little bit worried here because, when this originally happened with Hangman Page and that whole storyline, all of us were like, Hangman Page has got this, he's gonna win. And then look what they did. So to be honest, with the way that they're actually building up MJF as just like a constant great heel, I wouldn't have put it past them to go, yeah, all right, we'll just say this is how to get Kenny out of a like wrestling early that he can't challenge for the main belt again. These were the sort of ideas that were playing in my mind at this point because they've done it before. So yeah, there was doubt there on whether or not Kenny was going to be able to pull this off when Hangman couldn't, But I think that's what builds a great heel character like MJF. That the constant threat or looming potential threat of him convincing someone to go into a match like that and put a status such as you can never challenge again for the belt on the line. Like he's still got scope. He's got a lot of scope behind it because he's done it to Hangman. So yeah, there was a lot of worry at first. I was like, Kenny, you're an idiot. Why would you say yes to that?
Yeah, exactly. And why did Elite keep wanting that stipulation as well? It doesn't make any sense, but
No. But they got to make it interesting. This is certainly an interesting at hand. I still wonder to this day whether or not Hangman will ever get that chance again. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll find out. Kevin Knight defended his TNT title versus Leo Rush. Afterwards, Darby Allin arrived to demand a TNT Championship match. Knight was ready to accept, but Don Callis called the Daredevil a criminal who would never be allowed a title match. Ospreay and Mox beat the Swell. Switchblade Jay White celebrated his return after 459 days with the crowd. He questioned the change of AEW in his absence, including the popularity of the Death Riders. His main focus was the Dogs, calling David Finlay a Nepo baby and promising revenge was coming for his long-term friend turned rival. I mean, Monty, again, Jay White has been away for so long. We've talked about this before, about when you've been away so long and lots of things changes. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, the Death Riders are now obviously heels, but it's good to see Jay White back and talking.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, when somebody like Jay White who's been gone for so long and to the point to where he was building anticipation for such a length of time, he's just happy to see him back in the ring, happy to see him getting back involved. Like I think this is it's for something that just kind of show you how long the Death Riders has been around, to where it's like they can always they've been around long enough for Will Ospreay and Jay White to kind of get hurt, and then they've kind of switched allegiances and long enough to still be here when they return, and like things like you said, it's just so weird at times. You gotta kind of get real acclimated, like just like I'm sure Jay White kind of has to, because again, things are just like they're always going in AEW. Like every week, every couple weeks, someone changes. You got someone leaving a faction. You got maybe they are kind of heel, or maybe they're leaning babyface. Like you never really know. So it's really cool. I think overall, it's just cool to see Jay White back in the mix and back doing this thing, and hopefully, finally, because I know you guys have noticed, but the Bayman gang without Jay White was pretty much, every now and then Juice Robinson would have a one-on-one match, and but like no, they were pretty stagnant. They brought in Ace Austin, they had a couple people come in, but they weren't really doing much as a faction. So it is cool to see that now that since Jay White back, they have a chance to at least have a direction again.
Yeah, without a doubt. And then we saw Sheeta winning the Survival of the Fittest to become the new TBS champion. We got Harley, Micah, Queen Aminata, Persephone, and Statlander in there as well. I mean, Gina, Sheeta winning the title is always a kind of pleasant surprise. And obviously, the TBS title was vacated due to Willow's injury. So, again, I think a bit good business there for Sheeta.
Yeah, definitely. The thing is, I don't want to call Sheeta a transitional champion, but at this point in time, in a way, that's how I do look at her. But I feel like every time she does get that opportunity, she jumps at the chance, to still show that she is still a formidable opponent. We forget in the early days, Sheeta really held the women's division up there, along with like Nyla Rose and Britt Baker. So it's always really great to see her elevated back up there again. It is also one of those things when you see Sheeta get the belt, how long is she going to hold this for? Especially because we know that Willow only had to vacate it and she didn't really lose it to her. So either way, I was still pleased. It was nice because that means I'm getting to see more Sheeta weekly,
Yeah, without a doubt. we move on to Collision, July 2nd. Claudio and Pac beat Shingo and Driller. I was so confused with this on the catch up. For a moment, I thought I was watching before the Forbidden Door, and then I was like, no, I can't be. We've done that. But anyway, Andrade beat Brian Cage. Mina and Thunder Rosa won a squash. Cope teamed with the Bang Bang Gang to beat Shane Taylor Promotions. The Dogs and the Death Riders attacked after. Finn took out the Switchblade. Gabe said he's a dog and a Death Rider. So, Jaxie, at least we've cleaned that up. Do you know what I mean? We were wondering what Gabe Kid was, and he's both.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that he cleared this up, but like, I also was like, you know, especially kind of going forward, how is that going to work when both factions clearly can't stand each other either? So it's kind of like, you know, do they have joint custody over Gabe? Like, do they have fixed set days on when Gabe is with the Dogs and then when he's with the Death Riders? That is something I'd like to know. And who
Yeah, I think-
considered like the joint custody? Was this like a joint custody hearing between John Moxley and David Finlay?
Yeah, I think Mox has him every 2 weeks at the weekends. Do you know what I mean? So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, every third Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's it. Okay. That makes sense then. But again, I mean, I'm glad to see Gabe Kidd back in action because he was taken out of action very early on into him kind of making that transition into sort of regularly appearing on AEW TV. So we really weren't sure whether or not he was sort of like part-time within the company or not. Hopefully now that he's back, he actually might solidify a little bit more of a status within AEW because right now I always kind of thought of him as a guest wrestler. But again, with that injury, I think it put him out of commission and probably potential storylines that would have been in AEW. So I'm keen to see where things go from here. But I'm not going to lie, the Dogs need a bit of like a pick me up or something. So this could be good for them to get Gabe back because they've not made the best of impressions so far since coming to AEW, and that's not to say I don't like them because I actually really do. I respected both of what Clark Connors and David Finlay have done in New Japan, but I do not think that they have been utilized well in a way where they're really kind of at this moment in time really to be taken seriously as a faction or a group or a team. So hopefully, like with Gabe Kidd now, like kind of joining in, they might get a bit stronger and a bit more of a stronger presence on TV.
Yeah. The Demand won a squash. Athena beat Rena. Mystico, Bandido, and Speedball beat the Rascals. I mean, AEW have too much talent. I don't even know where the Hurt Syndicate are. Roosh won a squash. Maya Well beat Julia Hart. And the main event was Carl Fletcher beating ELP. A collision was never ending. Dynamite Beach Break, July 8th. I really like the setting for this. Again, it's what makes AEW different. Kind of harking back to the days of WCW. I mean, I even like the yellow ropes. We started with a brawl between Jericho and Ciampa. Ciampa got the win with the old sand to the face and then the running knee. Ciampa hit Jericho with a chair after, and it was going to use a drill, but security stepped in. So I suppose that's good, Monty. You know, there is a line in AEW. It's when someone wants to use a drill, or when Ciampa does.
It's very weird when because we've seen them get away with so much depravity. It's like, wow, they do have security. You know, like somebody do stop something every now and then. It's weird though, like you said, when they decide is that line or you just stepping too far. I was happy though that because again, I don't know. Again, we don't really talk in great detail about Jericho's little return run here, but he's done a good job of putting guys over. Like I think he's right now the complete opposite of like his learning tree and last run when he just seemed to not only have long storylines, but he would be the only one still getting over in the end. At least now it feels like he's at least attempting to use his name value to help advance people like Ciampa. Now it's weird because I'm talking about Ciampa like he's young, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, one of those
He's younger than
young
Jericho.
go-getters. Yeah. Yeah. Again, it was better than expected, you know. MJF spat in Ospreay's face. Takeshita versus Fletcher. This was for the international title, and Fletcher won after a brainbuster off the top. I mean, this was great stuff. And Gina, Takeshita is in the G1, so I guess it kind of wasn't a surprise that Fletcher would win the title. But, I mean, it was only recently he'd won the TNT Championship and lost it, I think. But anyway, I'm getting confused.
Yeah, it really was a lot because I did have to sit there and think, wait, when did he win this? Isn't this still a recent win, sort of thing? Or that's how it felt. So the title change threw me off initially, but then yeah, remembering he's in the G1, it also was like, okay, makes sense to maybe give it to Carl, who's going to be shown more weekly with Takeshita in Japan. So yeah, it is difficult because it's like, wouldn't you think of these things ahead of time, and wouldn't you have thought maybe we should hold off giving the belt to Takeshita until after he's back? I don't know. Yeah, because the thing is, there was a lot of hype with Takeshita and, kind of breaking away from the Don Callis family and fighting against Carl Fletcher, who was a close friend of his, and his never-ending feud with Okada. And I don't know, in a way, I don't want to say the momentum's gone down, because I still really like Takeshita. So I'm always really excited whenever I see he's involved in a match or come back onto the screens. But I'm wondering whether, the little title win and then losing a few weeks later might have like halted a little bit of that momentum. So we'll have to see, sort of when Takeshita comes back. Hopefully that hype is still up there. But yeah, I'm still loving Takeshita. I just think it was a quick run for him. Hopefully his next run will be a bit longer.
Yeah, exactly. Mick Foley made his way to the ring to have the word with the new champ, but it was all overshadowed by Kevin Knight, who called his shot at the World Championship. Andrade, who had got fucked up the previous week by the family, said he's going to take a belt off the family. And then Darby and Andrade booby-trapped a skateboard. And they say Danhausen is stupid. Mox and Ospreay beat the Workhorsemen. And then we got a casino gauntlet with Athena Myrwell, Sky Blue, Mina Shirakawa, Rena, Judy Hart, Thunder Rosa, and then Willow Nightingale. And Willow's arrival was a big surprise as she ran over everyone, especially after the Fallen Goddess. After Maya helped take out Blue, Willow sealed the victory with Babes with a powerbomb on Hart. Afterwards, Tekla caught Willow with a spear. The Divine Dominion laid out the Sisters of Sin, set up a Mercedes Moné to lay out both Tekla and Willow. I'll take a breath quickly. So, Jax, a lot going on there. We talked about Willow being injured. She is now back, and now number one contender to Tekla, who she will face at AEW Redemption. Of course, Mercedes Moné, who owns the Own Heart, is sitting in the background waiting at All In.
Yeah. There was a bit of confusion. I mean, great to see Willow come back from an injury like quite quickly, in my opinion. Part of me was like, with an injury like that was, relatively short-lived. Could there have been scope for her to have just kept that belt? Understandably, sorry, understandably with sort of this open challenge to be able to take on Thekla. This made sense from a point of view that like she's got a history with Thekla and Mercedes, so she'd be a big draw. But I also was kind of like, oh, she was champion, TBS champion just a short while ago. So I just feel like a lot happened really quickly when it came to the women's division and just sort of chopping, changing like champions. But I did think that overall this was a good surprise. This was a great surprise that no one expected,
Yeah. But it's funny, isn't it? If it's WWE, it'd be like, how long she injured for? 6 months. Keep the title on her. No one's going to notice. In AEW, how long she injured? 2 weeks. You've got to take the title off her. Do you know what I mean? Like 3 weeks is too long.
I know, and I can't tell whether or not it's even sort of Tony's way of being like, oh no, we are not following suit with the way that WWE handles some of their main star injuries, main champion star injuries. I mean, and whether or not he was like, no, we're not doing that. But yeah, it doesn't make sense really for anyone with an injury to continue holding the belt. But I'm grateful that Willow hadn't lost too much time, I would say.
Yeah, without a doubt. And then the AEW Men's World Championship, MJF versus Kenny Omega. Omega turned the tide after kicking MJF off the apron through the announce table. He thought the Earth responded with a brutal tombstone pile driver on a standing steel chair. Will Ospreay arrived to take away the Dynamite Diamond ring, but when Omega hesitated to hit MJF with the world title, MJF low-blowed him and blasted him with the gold, but that didn't matter because Omega managed to kick out instantly and hit a trio of V-triggers followed by the one-winged angel to win your new AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega. Monty, what do you make of this?
Well, besides the fact that this is one of my pet peeves taking place right in front of me because, I could have swore they had a match at a pay-per-view, and I predicted that Kenny would beat him for the world title. And, oh, no, they decided, let's just wait a few weeks to do exactly what I thought they were going to do. The first time, it is what it is. The match is great. Don't get me wrong. I thought their first match was good too, but I think they took it up another level. And this one, I think maybe the stakes had something to do with it. It is cool. Like I said, I don't want to take for granted that we get stuff like this on a dynamite. You know what I mean? Like that's still something that I think maybe fans who even if you're not a fan of AEW, you just gotta be like, you know what? It's really damn cool that we get a match of this caliber. We get our world champion. We get one of the best wrestlers in the world, or by far, like arguably one of the best wrestlers in our company still, and Kenny Omega to just wrestle a match, a 20-something minute match on TV for a world title. And it was a treat, don't get me wrong. But it is annoying to me that they did it this way, and then you come to find out, like reading the reports, that Kenny's he was supposed to win the belt at Redemption, but Max was like, why wait until then? Why wait until win it in Canada? He can do it before that and have a longer run with it, which I think is kind of cool. That was like Max's logic for it, which is kind of I think that's cool that he was like, no, just take it off me now. I think that's kind of cool. But at the same time, again, I thought this run for Max, if you really look at it, it wasn't as long as you would think for a world title run, but I was really impressed with like the matches and the story because kind of like in a similar fashion to Darby Allin, it wasn't as breakneck like every week, but that last run since he kind of won that belt back from Darby, he was having a title match, like we saw him when he kind of got injured in one. I think the match against Roosh, and like he was having a title match every other week or every week himself, like Kevin Knight, and then leading up to where we got here with Omega, and like the match we talked about with Briscoe. So again, MJF was, as much as he is a heel and I guess still kind of looked at as a coward, he really was working. He was really and this year I think so far we'll see how he wraps this year up. But Max, in my opinion, is definitely a candidate for one of the best wrestlers of the year. Just like you just look at every big match he's had all throughout this year, he's been having great matches. And I thought this was another great one. Kenny again going to that next gear, and like finding a way to pull out this victory. Because like even though I think the stipulation to me can be worked both ways, it can add stakes, but it can be a crutch, and people can be like, well, there's no way they're gonna let Kenny do it. The good thing about AEW is that AEW loves the stipulation. We've seen them do it and enforce this rule twice now. I don't know why they insisted on making big stars not being able to challenge for the world title, but it was good. It was cool to watch Kenny overcome those odds, and I guess it was realistic that Kenny could not win the belt again and never get another shot because we know he's closer to the finish line than he is, than he's not. But again, I thought this was really cool. That moonsault to the lifeguard chair on the stage was really awesome. And again, I thought with the Dynamite ring spot was, and even Osprey's involvement, knowing that Kenny wins, he's probably going to have to fight Osprey. I still thought that was actually made sense, because of what the relationship that we. This goes back to that great segment we talked about weeks ago with Kenny and Osprey, and just how close they were seemingly at this point in time, and like that redemption angle of Kenny finally getting back to the top of the mountain. I thought it had all the great drama. Like a lot of people, again, people still try to act like AEW don't tell good stories. This is an excellent story to me. And again, we get spoiled like this sometimes. I thought it was a really, really fantastic match. Even if I am a little bit annoyed that I didn't get a prediction point for it because they wanted to do it on Dynamite.
Yeah, but no, I thought it was excellently done by AEW. And again, I think the AEW World Title, the booking and the stories we're getting from it have been the best booked
Top notch.
championship. Do you know what I mean? It
Right.
really is.
Top
Like
notch.
I said, everything branching off it. Anyway, moving on. Collision July 11th. Hangman Adam Page returned. He had his eyes on other people's prizes. I mean, it's definitely a choice. Bandido defended his Ring of Honor title against Shibata. TBS champ Shida beat Hardy Cameron. Death Riders beat Top Flight Commander and Leo Rush. Brian Cage beat Zachary Wentz. And in the main event, Mark Davis retained his national title against Speedball. Bailey stock has dropped a lot since the split from Kevin Knight, and he suffered an awful cut after being pole driven on the announce table. Dynamite July 15th, Cope and Cage defend the tag team titles against Daniel Garcia and Weird Yuta. The dog riders attacked afterwards. Bang Bang again helped the faces. And again, I mean, Gina, I don't want to be this guy, right? And I like AEW, but I am getting a little bit confused. Do you know what I mean? Like the Death Riders with the dogs, I kind of get there's a connection there. Do you know, is it with Death Riders? Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah. But again, when they all come and then Cope and Cage are involved with Weird Ute and guy, I'm just like, what? Who's face? Who's heel? Do you know what I mean? I want defined roles sometimes.
Yeah, and there is a little bit of confusion with regards to the faces and the heels within AEW, especially with regards to not the dogs, the Death Riders. We're saying their names too much. I'm actually getting tongue tied. But with the Death Riders is crazy because everyone hypes for John Moxley like he's a face, even though he's a heel and he plays as a heel, he wrestles as a heel. When Wheeler Yuta's in the ring, people hate him. He still gets "fuck you, Yuta" chants, and things like that. So you're like, no, oh no, they're heel. You hear Daniel Garcia in a match, you hear him getting booed. Oh no, they're heel. But then sometimes Claudia will come out, and everyone's hyped for Claudia. So it's very mixed with regards to how we're seeing the Death Riders. And then you add the Will Ospreay sort of storyline on top when Will is such a huge face. It's like, are we meant to look at the Death Riders as faces now because, they buddies with Will, or are they not? So the confusion really is warranted here. But I also think that ultimately the Death Riders are just like, no, we're just going to kick anyone's asses who are in our way, whether they're face or heels. It doesn't matter. So
But I think it's again, I get confused because I still think it's like New Japan a couple of years ago, and they're all together still. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just all Bullet Club anyway, or something like that. Like I got to
yeah,
find
like a huge Bullet Club reunion
yeah.
and maybe a power struggle. So they both go off into their own separate side factions from time to time.
Andrade beat Jake Doyle to get a shot at Mark Davis. Young Bucks praised at Kenny Omega and gave him the original AEW World Championship. Ospreay arrived to thank Kenny. Kevin Knight then showed up to challenge Omega at Redemption. The Death Riders backed up Will when the family arrived. So Jackson, we got Kevin Knight wanting a shot at Kenny Omega at Redemption, and also Ospreay compared himself and Omega to Dragon. I'm not going to say the names because I don't want to sound like it, but a reference to Dragon Ball Z basically as well, which I know
Which
some people
characters
like.
was it, Monty? Was it Gohan and
I'm going to try. Should I try and pronounce
Oh,
them
it
and you
was
can?
it was Goku and Vegeta. It was Goku and Vegeta.
Goku and
Oh, there we
Vegeta?
go.
Oh, okay. Wait, which one's Vegeta then?
That's a good question. He didn't really specify.
No, honestly, because that is a very good
He
question.
didn't
Because
really specify.
especially like it's a really good reference. James, I'm sorry if you don't follow Dragon Ball Z, but in throughout the whole of the Dragon Ball series, both Vegeta and mainly Vegeta is constantly either a heel or a face. Sometimes a bit of both. You never know. And it's just kind of one of those things that just continuously plays out throughout the series. So it's a good reference in that sense in terms of like where these factions are going, let alone like Kenny and Will. Like both of them have like shown slightly heelish tactics in some way or another, almost as teasers. So this has been really good story building in that sense because you kind of don't know whether or not we're getting like good Kenny or cleaner Kenny. We don't know if Will's gonna kind of like join the dark side, so to speak, when it comes to the Death Riders, or whether or not like that moral line for him is still intact. So it's just one of those things like where it's like watching to wait and see whether or not the superhero is going to go dark or not,
Right. Okay. I got you. So Kevin Knight challenging Kenny Omega's not really up there for you, then. Like, that's
I mean,
not.
do you know what? I love what Kevin Knight is doing now. I also just thought, no offense, Kevin Knight, stay in your lane. You've got to do it yourself that you should be defending. I didn't necessarily think he needed to be in this position. However, I'm not mad at it. I thought it was like a good sort of promo section with Kevin. He's been doing really great and really well. So why not put him in like a quick little sort of session with the main champ. So I wasn't too mad about it.
Brodido won a squash. Bandido challenged Fletcher for his monthly pay-per-view match. Carl then defended his title versus Commander in a really fun match. Commander's springboard Mexican Destroyer was breathtaking. Carter hit a Rainmaker on Takeshita. Darby Allin beat Brian Cage. And in the main event, Mercedes Moné and Divine Dominion versus Willow, Maya Weld and Hyan. And while Willow cleared out Cross and Bane, the CEO survived a great high and spear and sealed the win with the Money Maker. Monty, always good to see the women main event Dynamite.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna say it don't mean much, but it is always cool for them to switch it up sometimes, and like you said, give us something fresh. Not only Divine Dominion, who we just seen kind of relegated to the kickoff show, and even though I love their involvement so far with Mercedes at this point, but like again, even if it's just a 6-man match, like a 6 women match like this, that don't really. I mean, it is like important, and it's kind of customary. I think when we know this is all about Willow and Mercedes in this particular situation, so to speak. But doing having a six person match with like everyone involved, it's just like a customary next step when you kind of trying to build heat towards the feud. So I love how Mercedes and Demand to me look together too. I think it just kind of works. Uh, and again, I think, like you said, it's good to just kind of have that formula that we kind of know to be kind of switched and flipped on his head in a sense every now and then, and also kind of to show you just how they look at Mercedes at this point too, because Mercedes is that type of name value that should be protected and at the at the end of your show. I think she has earned that right. So her and Willow for that matter. But yeah, I thought it was cool, interesting little match and all of that. Everything worked out. It was a fine main event. And I think again, like I said, looking at Divine to me and Mercedes Monet, I mean, you guys tell me, like I think they really look like they can dominate. I mean, as far as the tag division goes, Divine to me is already doing that, and if they can get Mercedes over the hump, I think that could be a dominant little faction. If they want to, if they are really a faction. I don't know if they're just her muscle right now, or if they really want to turn themselves into a faction or not at this point. But I guess we'll see. But again, I think they fit together at the moment.
Yeah, without a doubt. Collision July 18th. Paul White was on commentary. Jack Perry beat Nick Quain. The Bucks challenged Mox and Will for redemption. Kevin Knight retained his TNT title against AR Fox. Don Callis family won a squash. Osprey and Athena won squashes. Brawling Birds won a squash. Ciampa beat Myron Reed. He had words with Paul White after. Bandido won a squash. And in the main event TBS title, Shida beat Queen Aminata. Sometimes you can skip Collision. But Gina, let's actually talk about this quickly. It's just come to me. Queen Aminata, I mean, I've been quite impressed with her, but apparently her contract's coming up soon. And there's word either... I don't know if she doesn't want to sign or not, but it seemed weird because she had a lot of momentum, it seemed, about 6 months ago or so.
Yeah, she did. She was in a series of matches. She was on weekly shows being seen and hyped up. And she has like sort of grown her own fan base and following. And she's also stuck up for quite a few big faces that are well loved, like Thunder Rosa and things like that. So she had this hype behind her, and then it's like she's fallen back off the radar because other people have come back. So they probably were using Aminata to fill in some slots that maybe they had some women out in injury or resting or something. But it does feel a bit sad because in terms of her contract coming up, for me, I would say that this is where you need to review whether to let her go, or if you're going to sign a new contract with her, you sign a contract with her that lets her know that she is going to be sort of pushed a bit more and elevated in terms of, going for maybe a TNT title run, or actually solidifying a tag team and putting her in the tag team division, seeing as they need more tag teams to go against Divine Dominion at this point anyway. It's not like Queen Aminata hasn't worked well with numerous people within AEW to form a great tag team with someone. So yeah, I think they're dropping the ball a little bit here because it was a fresh kind of new wrestler that has taken well to the crowd and had people hype. And from the matches that I've seen, I've always enjoyed seeing her grow from match to match, you know? So it would be nice if they could re-sign her and re-sign her with the goal. Okay, in next year, she's going to be sort of at that mid-cards level where she can maybe start going for the tag team belts or start going for a TNT title run or something, you know? So yeah, it would be nice if they did that. If they're not going to have that and they're just going to still keep her sidelined and catering to come out whenever somebody's injured, girl, don't sign. You worth more than that, girl.
Yeah, no, she definitely is. And I think it's going to be an interesting story. I think there's going to be a lot of wrestlers in AEW and WWE that will be, either out of contract or leaving that we will be discussing like this. And again, some of them do slip through the cracks. Dynamite, July 22nd, even though Don Callis said that he wasn't going to give Darby Allin a shot at the TNT title. Darby Allin had a shot at the TNT Championship against Kevin Knight. Knight countered a coffin drop with a total shot, followed by a coast-to-coast and a UFO splash to retain the championship. Afterwards, the Don Callis family arrived, starting with Carl Fletcher and then Kazuchika Okada headed to the ring for the next match. But before we get on to that, Jaxie, again, I was a bit surprised Darby and Kevin Knight was on, just a Dynamite for the TNT title. But again, sometimes Tony Khan's just like, yeah, fuck it,
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Darby, I'm not surprised at all because look what he was like when he actually held the AEW championship. Like he was defending that every single week on both Dynamite and Collision. So I'm not shocked by this. But I did feel like this could have actually been presented more, more so at Redemption. This was the match that I was thinking that was going to happen at Redemption, which is why I didn't think it made sense for Kevin to get involved with Kenny. But I don't know. Tony likes to do mixed, multiple storylines with the same wrestler across different sort of like storylines. So he likes to then mesh them and merge them into one, I suppose.
Yeah. Like we said, Okada and Fletcher was already ringside, and they took on Bro Dido. Okada made a save for Fletcher, only to accidentally hit him with a Rainmaker, followed by a 21 plex for the win. This was a good match, and the tag team beat 2 stars, Monty. How about that, eh? When did we ever see that? There you go, AEW.
At this point, I think that's why they won, just to kind of just to subvert the expectations. Because I know we've just seen so many times. It's great to finally see an official team get a victory over just two bigger names or two names, two solo acts. So the way that is the way it should be. Don't don't let me sound like that like an old person talking about back in my day, because it might have been worse back in the day, depending on what company we're talking about. But yeah, this is great to see, like you mentioned, and also great wrestling from like four of the best. Again, this is on, like you mentioned, Kevin Knight, Darby Allin on the Dynamite. We also got an Okada, Kyle Fletcher team versus Bro Dito, right on the Dynamite. Like it's just like the quality, in my opinion, of what we getting on a week to week basis. Just in my opinion, at this point, we just so used to it that I don't know. And I'm not saying all of them are like 5-star drag them out classics, but again, we get great wrestling almost just for free all the time. AW, that's just what they do.
Right down. Mick Foley facilitated the face-to-face between Tekla and Willow Nightingale. The Toxic Spider promised to beat the poison out of Willow and show the darkness she has hidden behind a smile. Willow questioned if Tekla might be putting on an act to not feel so small, which struck a nerve with the Toxic Spider. A brawl broke out with Tekla used her glove and a microphone to hurt Willow, but Willow was the last woman standing. Switchblade beat Cart Connors. Afterwards, Finney grabbed his shillelagh and blasted Switchblade, but the rest of Bang 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 arrived to make the save and send the dogs into retreat. No DQ for the Women's World Tag Team Championship. Divine Dominion versus the Sisters of Sin. Hart tried to take down Bane with an octopus stretch, but the Megasisters reversed into a spinning tombstone, followed by From Heaven to seal the win. Gina, we've spoken about 2 of these things, right? Defined heels and faces. When the Sisters of Sin turned face and we didn't know about it, all right? And also the women's tag team is just not strong enough yet.
Yeah, okay, so back to the whole heel and face thing. I have no idea when we started looking at Julia and Sky Blue as faces, is it just because they were in this match against Divine Dominion? But that's how they were being treated, you know?
Yeah.
But as far as we're aware, they were heels. And the thing is, I actually really like Julia and Sky Blue as a tag team together, and I think they're helping each other grow a lot. So I think they are in very good positions for their future. I think that they'll have a great sort of wrestling run individually and as a tag team in the next few years to come. But they ain't beating Divine Dominion. I'm not saying this to question their abilities as wrestlers, but if you just look at the size difference alone, it would be very questionable had they not won without using heel tactics. So either way, I don't want to say Julia and Sky Blue are not good enough to be in the tag team division. I do think that they are. And they're actually one of the more solidified tag teams that have been together for a while than half of them that are in the tag team division right now. But I just don't think that they are strong enough to be the ones to dethrone Divine Dominion. It sucks because I feel like Divine Dominion still are not being showcased well enough for being tagged, or not necessarily tagged, but put with Mercedes Moné, but also at the fact that they're the women's tag team champions. And like you said earlier, they're just on, the opening shows with not QT Marshall, the other guy, the Boom and Doom guy. Like the fact that they're relegated to that, they should put them on the main card to elevate them and elevate their status more. So yeah, for me, it's not necessarily a case of Julia and Sky Blue weren't good enough. They just weren't good enough in terms of going against Divine Dominion at this moment in time.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And I think they should stick to being heels too.
Yeah, no, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Main event: Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, and John Moxley versus Henchero, Brian Cage, and Jake Doyle. Mox helped Omega Snapdragon Cage, but the Clean accidentally caught the Death Rider leader with a V trigger to send Mox to the floor. God, what are the chances? Combination V triggered Hidden Blade by Omega, and Ospreay sealed the pinfall. Afterwards, Omega and Mox argued until the Young Bucks arrived, starting a brawl. The Cleaner was left alone in the aftermath, taking down Roppongi Vice for Kevin Knight blasting with a running TNT Championship shot over the ropes. And the show ended with a Jet holding up a bleeding Omega with both championships in hand. Yeah, I mean, Jackson, you said, Kevin Knight doesn't have a chance. Look at him. Look at him there. He's holding up both titles and Omega's bleeding,
I mean, you know what? He was like actually teasing it. He was saying, look, what could be? It could happen. So you never know.
You never know. Collision July 25th. Jumper beat Zachary Wentz. Bucks beat Daniel Garcia and Willie Utah after Cope and Cage took out Claudio and Pac. Ospreay and Mox took the Bucks out afterwards as well. Persephone beat Angelica Risk. Lethal Swirl beat Skyfly. Nick Wayne beat AR Fox to get into a ladder match at Redemption. Yep, it's the first I'm hearing of it. The Clone beat Leo Rush to also qualify. Dalton Castle and the Outrunners came up short against the Conglomeration. I can't remember the last time I saw them. Lethal Twist attacked afterwards. And the main event, Tekla and Shida beat Willow and Maya Weld when the Toxic Spider pinned Weld. Monty, Collision sometimes. We've spoken about it. We love Dynamites, but, this was just, I don't know. It was there,
Dalton Castle still has a job. Yeah. And always count on AEW to give you a random ladder match.
Yeah.
Yep. It's gonna be announced on Collision too. And it's gonna be for a title, it's gonna be for a shot at a title. Like, they will throw a random ladder match at your ass. You don't need no story, you just need to throw people out there in it and watch them do cool shit. So I think that's why they do it. But yeah, they love a random ladder match. This is show. As a matter of fact, your entire rundown of Collision, outside of the every now and then announcement and maybe solid match, is why I refuse to give Collision my time.
That's a fair point. July 26th, then Montreal AEW Redemption, 0 Hour, Renee Paquette, Mick Foley, and Double J. Daddy Magic oversaw the Rougeau Brothers tribute. They ended up beating up Rocky Romero.
Oh
Um,
my god.
I did French at school, and not once did they say J'habite Canterbury, so I wasn't 100% sure. Um, Gina, what did you think of these old men shouting in French? Did you see it 0 hour? Because it was hilarious. They ran over time and argued backstage as well.
I
Right.
did not see this, and now I'm gutted that I didn't.
No, but I think we still heard them in the main show as well. Like
Yeah.
during certain moments, I'm pretty sure like there were like one or two spots where we just heard like Frenchmen, or maybe that's just me.
We were in Montreal, though. So
We're in
Yeah.
Montreal.
But it was just really like it was
Montreal.
just a specific group. It was almost like for some reason there was like a microphone right next to just like one group.
But one day when I got enough time, we'll talk about the Rougeau brothers, and exactly what they
Yeah.
are. But
So
uh,
problematic or just funny. Also, like you're not lying, James. I think they got PC because they want a video package too or something. And AEW, they gave it the video package too late. So AEW, like they literally gave it the day of the show and expected AEW to have it edited and ready for the
and
show.
I think it
So
was
they were like,
AI
hey,
and copyrighted as well, which could be an
right, it
issue.
was
Do you know what I mean?
copyrighted. It
Like,
was
yeah.
AI and it was copyrighted. Yeah, that was great. I was like, oh my God, what a mess.
But hey, they did it, you know. Then we had the conglomeration versus the Lethal Twist for the Trios Championship. It was Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly against Jay Lethal, Lee Johnson, and Blake Christian. It was the owner match on the buy-in as well. The demand sat on commentary table to watch. The champion retained after Roddy hit Lethal with a huge backbreaker and then threw Orange Cassidy on top to get the pin. I mean, Jax, just starts off with this, you know. I mean, I wish they tried with the Cheers Championships. Do you know what I mean? It's something different to
Yeah.
WWE. That's all I'm gonna say.
You know what? I didn't actually have much written down for this match, to be honest. And this is no disrespect for all involved, but like this was definitely like one of those matches that was just really quickly put together. No one really had like a strong momentum within them to think that there was going to be a title change here. And I don't know. The only note I actually have written down here is why do the trios or the women's tag matches always end up on the 0 hour? It's just like it confuses me if you want us to actually like when the trios belts were first introduced, like look how peak they were, look at the peak factions we had, and I don't know where we've gone wrong in AEW, but we've just dipped in the tag division completely, let alone the trios division. We had such strong factions. Bear in mind a lot of them have gone now, like, you know, Death Triangle and House of Black. But, you know, we still have a lot of trios, but I just don't think the booking has been done well at all around these belts. So this match, again, felt pointless.
Yeah. What would you score out of 5?
2.5.
Monty, what's your score out of 5? And I don't really think there's much to add.
Yeah, I think you just wanted to. You said it's plenty of trios, but I think this match kind of like showcased how thin we are at this point. But it's not really because Jay Lethal and I think Lethal Twist is actually more interesting than the champions at this point to me. But don't I thought the work was solid. I give it like 3.5 overall. It was a solid match, and you know it was routine. I think that's probably the problem. I think that's kind of what you're talking about. It's just everything is just routine with the trios title. We kind of know what to expect. It might be entertaining, it might be fun, but there's no real story, no real action, nothing groundbreaking is ever going to happen when you're a trio champion. It seems so far in AEW, and yeah, man, I think Blake Christian and Lee Johnson, you know, they're improving. They're a lot better than they were when I've seen them in the past. But at this point, you know, you guys know me. I like Orange Cassidy, but like, you know, Orange, man, we got to freshen this up a little bit. We getting a little bit very routine, and being a trio champion is only making that routine even staler at this point to me.
Gina, can I get your score out of 5? And I'll give you some validation because you said that about Orange Cassidy about a year and a half ago. But
Exactly.
no.
That's why I had to say it. That's why I had to say it. I know somebody mentioned it way a long time ago, but I'm feeling it now.
Yeah, I was kind of scared I was going to get cancelled over saying that. It's not because I don't like him, but as Monty just said, I think it's going a little stale. you know, if you think about the hype between Orange Cassidy and Jericho when they had their whole stint and storyline at the start of AEW, and how hype Orange Cassidy is compared to now, it is a big difference. So yeah, I mean, for me, I'll give this match a 3. I do find it a bit stale with Orange Cassidy now, though. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna give it 3.5. Predictions, the Double Up Prediction League 2026. This is before Redemption and after SummerSlam, obviously. WWE League, Monty on 3, I'm on 4, Jaxie Gina on 6. AEW, I'm on 1, Monty's on 2, Jaxie on 3, Gina on 4, and then the bonus, Jaxie on 12, Gina and Monty on 13, I'm on 14. As for the predictions, we all went conglomeration, so we're all on 1. We got the international title #1 contenders ladder match. The competitors were the Beast Mortos, Nick Wayne, Jack Perry, Mike Bailey, Commander, and the Clone. I mean, this was entertaining from start to finish. It wasn't perfect, but you know, ladder matches never really are. Everyone involved did an excellent job making the crowd get exactly what they paid to see. Several tables were broken around the ring to add some extra excitement. The hometown boy ended up winning when Speedball took down the contract to claim the title shot, and the crowd erupted for him. Monty, I mean, Speedball was just so much fucking fun, and I'm glad he's getting a bit of flowers, getting his flowers a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's about time. Like you mentioned, pretty much since splitting with Kevin Knight, we didn't really know exactly what direction they might going in bet with Bailey. And I'm happy, like you said, I'm happy that they decided to kind of throw him a bone here and give him some momentum to kind of go. Like we know Kevin Knight, you see where Kevin Knight is in this man, literally on this show. So it's cool to see that Mike Bailey can also get some type of focus, and maybe this will be a good trajectory going into later. We got Continental, Classic situation and all that coming up, and later on in the year and the Cup. So like it'd be cool to see what this would lead to when it comes to Mike Bailey. But again, I thought like you mentioned, you either like this or you don't like it, in my opinion, because I do think this is one of those highlight factory type of ladder matches. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it was like overly overdone either. I think everything was fine and paced well. But again, like you said, not everything goes without a hitch in these matches. And but I didn't expect Speedball to win, and I think that's kind of a good thing in these type of matches. Not to be fair, I didn't really know who would win because I never kind of know in these type of matches when it comes to AEW. They kind of do a good job of, not like booking people that we can all see potentially winning. Maybe like I don't know anybody in this match that I mean, maybe you can try to act like the Luchadors wouldn't be an interesting pick, but again, I think they're all good wrestlers also. So again, this is a really good time in my opinion. I think they're good to start the show also, even if you can make a good argument, and I would make that argument that a lot of these matches are filler, but it was enough stakes here and enough fun in this match for me to be like, it's the good type of filler in my opinion. I don't think it's important. I don't know how many people gonna remember this ladder match coming out of Redemption, but I do believe it was a great time, and I'm happy Mike won because again, I wasn't, you can be. It was a pleasant type of surprise victory in my opinion, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, without a doubt. Again, Gina, we have talked about it, but it's only this type of match you realise just how much talent AEW have, because these guys aren't. I wouldn't even say they're mid carders. Do you know what I mean? And that's no shade to any of them. But again, it's they're in a position because there's so many championships as well. Do you know what I mean? It's really hard to kind of put them in position, but they did a good job.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. For me, I would like to maybe describe this as the type of match that you would put on when you have a bunch of crowd favorites that still bring hype, but you don't actually have a storyline to have them involved in any form of match. So this is the type of match that they'll create so that those wrestlers can still bring the hype that they have behind them, because a lot of the people who were involved in this are quite hyped up, and they do have quite a lot of fan base behind them. It's always good to do this at the start of a show as well. It really wakes people up if they've been there from the 0 hour mark. And yeah, it was just great fun. I did enjoy it. It's a bit like Monty said, will this be a match that I maybe call back to this time next year to remember? I probably won't, but that's because I got a really shitty memory. um but I still think it's worth watching if you like fun on to start off your pay-per-view show. I would still say it's a worthy match of watching.
Yeah, without a doubt. Jax, I mean, I don't know if there's much. I put Nick Wayne died during this matchup as well.
Oh yeah, he took bumps.
He took quite a lot of bumps. That was yeah. I was like, the baby's taking the brunt of it here. Yeah, I don't really have much more to add. I actually really enjoyed this. I thought this was like a really good showcase of like, a big group of talented workers. And they went out there and did their best, like you could tell there was a lot of trust between all of them. There was quite a lot of beautiful spots, beautiful bumps, but also you could see that there was like a lot of camaraderie when it came to kind of being there in that spot to be able to take that fall and take that hit. So yeah, I just overall enjoyed this match. I thought it was really fun. I did think it was a bit of a surprise. I didn't think that they would go with Speedball. I went Jack Perry, but I was really happy for Speedball nonetheless. So yeah, really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, right down. Scores then, Monty. What would you give it?
I'm giving it a 4.
Give it 4. Gina,
Yeah, I'll give it a 4 too.
Jax.
It's a 4 from me as well.
I'll give it a 4.25 predictions. I mean, yeah. I mean, you said it, Jax. I mean, why did I go for Jack Perry? I know Speedball. I like him. We're in Canada, and yet I put Jack Perry. I just don't understand. So Gina and Monty went Speedball. So they're on 2. Jackson and James are on 1.
I only
Should get
went with him because he's Canadian. So
yeah, but this is what I'm saying. It's not like I don't know these things. Do you know what I mean? It's not, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just too much collision. You know, that Jack Perry promo on Collision must have swayed my thoughts. Anyway, up next, Young Bucks versus John Moxley and Will Ospreay. Matt and Ospreay started the match with a fast-paced exchange that led to the Bucks getting some patented double-team offense. Nick and Ospreay had a headbutt spot. Looked like it caught both guys more than they expected. Nick ended up taking a long break at ringside while Matt continued the match. Mox and Ospreay became more aggressive as the match progressed, especially when they were double teaming Matt. Once Nick recovered, he and his brother were able to gain some momentum. Nick appeared to be having issues standing up, and Ospreay gave him a chance to tag his brother, but he refused. When Ospreay refused to take advantage of the injury, Mox tagged in and hit a stomp. A lot of people came into this bout expecting him to fully embrace the dark side to get the win, but Will's refusal to betray his morals led to the Bucks getting the win in the end. And to be fair, I can't do the end justice. It looked like Moxley fucking died as well. Gina, this was good stuff all round.
Yeah, this was a great match. Although I, I'm not, I'm not sure whether I liked the ending or not. It's one of those matches that I just like keep thinking to myself, like, was this the perfect time for Will to go heel if that's what the plan is? So I still don't know where the whole plan with Will integrating himself with the Death Riders, how deep that was going to go. And so, in my opinion, I'm thinking he's going to eventually start using maybe some heelish tactics to win his match, and then finally embrace the heeldomhood. You know, um, I thought maybe the ending of this match it would have happened and it didn't. So I then got confused of where we're going with Will's storyline and with him within the Death Riders. But overall, this match was still good. I never put it past the Young Bucks to not put on a great match, and it was nice seeing them against like the tag team of John and Will. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I just was confused in terms of storylines.
Yeah. I mean, Jaxie, I remind you, Jax and Moxley are very similar. I can see myself like, maybe some guy there, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can hurt him, and Jaxie's just like, just fucking stab him. Do you know what I mean? Just fucking get in there. But I don't know. I might be wrong. But Jax, I mean, I see you siding with Moxley. Just get the job done.
the silence and the admittance of guilt.
I think that is. I think Jaxie's like, yeah, that is me. I don't want to say anything. Just like, unless she, unless she's done something now. All right. Well, we'll come back to her in a minute then, I suppose. But Monty, the question is, Monty, as Gina Carter said as well, was this match actually needed here? You know, we knew it was going to be a good one, but was it needed?
That's a good point. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you because I feel like it was a good match, but it was also one of the situations where it's like you either bought into like all the drama that they were trying to sell or not. Like especially, I think the question don't necessarily get asked if Will, turns the corner and Will makes the character switch that we think aligns with Death Riders. Because I do think, although people like the Death Riders, to be fair to the Death Riders, they haven't really changed their actions. Like I think it's confusing, but other than like Moxley not being a complete dick, I don't think they've changed so much to where it would be out of character. And I think that's what I like so much about Moxley's role in this match is because although we know he's the fans like him, and I know he's played to them a little bit. uh, this is perfectly in line with his character. This that vicious, that mean streak, and like you said, doing what you have to do to get the job done. That is literally a Death Rider's motto and mantra at this point. So it was kind of funny that I get the story they're trying to tell because like we mentioned earlier, with Osprey kind of being, struggling with like a side of like his identity in a sense because it's a similar thing. It's kind of funny. Similar thing, in my opinion, is happening with him in his like New Japan storyline. If that still is a thing at this point, which is would he cross the line to be kind of like Callum Newman, which got Newman to where his level? Like, is Osprey gonna be so conflicted that he wouldn't do it that way? Because again, we've kind of seen a bad side of Osprey, but I think since his injury and especially since coming to AEW, he's been leaning on just being a great athlete and being a better wrestler, not so much going down the wrong path. So I get it, but I do understand that if you didn't like this match or you thought the ending was weird, like I think I understand completely because I feel like they were trying to do a lot of things at once. Now, was this match necessary? From a storytelling perspective, I guess you can say sure. I don't know now how much bearing is he going to have on the Osprey uh, Omega Clash later, or who, I guess in this case still Kevin Knight Clash. What how much impact on All In was this match supposed to have? I don't know. I don't think it's gonna have much of it at all. So from that argument, you can be like, I don't think this match is necessary because if anything, it kind of takes from Will's character if you want to look at it that way instead of making his character stronger going into it. But I think the goal here was to kind of to kind of showcase the duality of Will Ospreay and like what he's going through emotionally right now to get him to do certain things because maybe he's starting to feel like he don't need to do it Moxley's way to get back to the promised land. So again, I get the story they were trying to tell is interesting. I don't think this is Will's and like by proxy even the Young Bucks best match this year. I think they've all had better matches this year. But again, from like Moxley's standpoint and the story they were trying to tell, I thought it was enjoyable overall. But I understand if you say this match wasn't necessary.
Yeah. Jax, are you back or are you doing something else in now? Is that?
I'm sorry, I was booted. I got booted from
Yeah.
the podcast, so I had to reload everything back up. No, I don't really have much more to say. I think when I came into it, Monty was actually stating some of the facts that I was going to say, which predominantly was I feel like we were getting kind of a similar role with what Will is producing in New Japan at the moment, with a lot of United Empire going heel, and him not totally agreeing with their heelish tactics and their ways. So I can understand from a story point of view them playing on this idea of like, is Will going to cross that threshold? Is he going to, kind of embrace the dark side, which I've said before. But I don't necessarily think that this was like the best tag match that I've seen between both teams. It wasn't that it wasn't a good tag match, but I definitely was more excited watching the ladder match than I had been with this one. I feel like this match maybe went a bit too long, and I think like the ending grew a bit stale because of like the point they were trying to prove and the pressure they were trying to put on Will. I think it could have just sort of been a bit more abrupt with the end and things, but overall it was still a good showcase of the story they were trying to tell with like the moral compass really, of Will Ospreay. So I can understand that was kind of like their point of having this match, but it just kind of felt roughly put together. So
Yeah. All right. So scores then. Gina, what would you give it out of 5?
I'll give it a 4.
Give it a 4. Monty. Yeah. I'll ask Monty next. Go on.
I'll give it 4.25.
And Jax.
I gave this a 4 too.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.25 predictions. Jackson and I went Moxley and Will. Gina and Monty went the Bucks. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with both of us. So Jackson James on 1, Monty and Gina on 3. Carl Fletcher versus
Another real
Bandito.
team won. Yay.
Yeah, well done. Carl Fletcher versus Bandito International Championship was next. The Protostar came in cocky, but he ended up rethinking the strategy when Bandito almost won a couple of minutes into the fight. Once he gained the upper hand, he spent a long time controlling the pace. This is the kind of match you just have to watch to truly appreciate. Both guys turned in incredible performances, but only one could leave with the gold off a couple of convincing false finishes. Fletcher hit his finisher for the win. I know I made a joke, Jaxie, about Mendito having a monthly pay-per-view match, but, you know, this month it was a really good one with Fletcher.
Okay, this one-on-one match, this was a great match. I think both men were showcased really well. I think this, I know what you just said about like sort of Bandito and his matches and stuff, but when he's in the ring, you realize why they utilize him and use him a lot. Like he's that good, and like working with Carl Fletcher, they had just some great chemistry working together. They sold each other's moves really well. They really had great pacing. They had the crowd were going crazy. There were highs and lows. There were near falls everywhere, and it was just like it was just constantly like on fast mode. It was like on 1.5 mode. Like neither man would stay down. So this is one of those matches where it was like a blink and you'll miss something, within this match. So yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I was actually pleasantly shocked because I thought there wasn't that much build up between Kyle and Bandito for the match to go that hard, but the match went that hard, and it is one that I would recommend you watch because I realized, this is why he's still like Ring of Honor champion and things like that. He's just brilliant in the ring.
Yeah. But that's my question. Monty. I was going to say to Monty, see if he's got the answer. Why is Bandito still Ring of Honor champion? Like, he doesn't, surely he can just, do stuff in AEW.
Tell me who's supposed to beat him. Give me the rest of the damn RH roster. I guess at this point, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know how much attention that is. They might even at this point, Tony might not even remember he got that belt until he walk out there and they see it and they go, "Oh, damn, he's still the champion." No, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming at some point, I don't know who's next in line for Ring of Honor. I'm not really watching it, but again, I think we see him with that belt, and we just know, all right, well, it just fits. I think it's also a good excuse to not give Bandito a real storyline and belt, because that's my big takeaway and annoyance with this match. Is kind of like what you mentioned about his monthly pay-per-view showcase that they give him Bandito. He's such a great wrestler. He always has been. He was great in Ring of Honor before Ring of Honor was bought by AEW. Like, he's always been a great wrestler. But so it's just really unfortunate, kind of like, and you want to bring that up, like think about like what we talk about with Athena, and just like in a similar situation of just like for some reason we just got two of the best wrestlers in the world. I don't want to say purgatory because I'm sure some diehard ROH fans who pay attention to everything they got going on over there. But I'm just saying it sucks that they're kind of relegated to spending most of their time there to the point to where they are never, or they seemingly never will be booked seriously continuously, on AEW. Again, because like you look at how good Bandito is. Do you seriously believe he's the only thing in AEW he should have on his belt is a tag team run, a great tag team run with Brody King? But still, is that the only thing? Like, he is literally someone that you can look at and be like, no, that could be world title contender type of guy. But they don't. I don't know if they'll ever put that type of effort into it. Kind of like with Athena, will she ever be in an AEW women's title match feud seriously? Because she's always going to have her own ROH title, and they keep booking it that way for whatever reason. So again, it's weird, but that's just the way it seems to be. But this match, like you just mentioned, was excellent. I do think if I had a sneak peek or something about it, I'd be like, maybe they went a little bit too long and like was like pushing it a little bit further. But again, it's one of those matches that's so great that you might not even realize that they probably went a couple of false finishes too far. And I agree, like you don't expect a match like this with literally no build to get that much time, but when you have the two wrestlers in this match, like Kyle Fletcher, who again has an argument to be top five in AEW when he's there and healthy, it's hard to be like complaining about it and saying, "Oh, well, this match could have been shorter." It could have been, but they did give us everything they had, and it was an incredible clash. I will say that. But like in my opinion, I'm one of those people who look at it like, imagine how much better this match would have been if we actually had a build and they actually had a narrative and we actually had a direction for Bandito, other than we know he's just going to go out there and give us a great fight, whether he wins or loses. I just think it's kind of they to me they turn like a very great match. Like this could be a great match, awesome AEW caliber match, but this could have been like classic level if we actually had something else to invest into it. Also coming into it.
Yeah, I would agree. Gina, as I say, it was a great match, but pick up a point Monty made as well. When it comes to Cole Fletcher, he definitely is, as he said, top five in AEW. When you think about the kind of stories he's had, the consistency, I know he's had a couple of injuries, but the championship runs and always delivering on pay-per-views. I mean, he is the future of AEW.
He really is. He's great on the mic. He's great with promos, holding himself. So he doesn't necessarily always need Don to be his mouthpiece because he's great at that. And he's just shown his prowess in the ring time and time again against different, opponents. So he really is the future. And it's sad. I really want to say the same for Bandido because I feel like Bandido is always giving hype matches. I still remember his match with John Moxley. I still remember his match with Swerve. And like they were all banger matches, but it's like I don't know, he just doesn't keep the momentum with him because he's maybe not seen that way every week on AEW TV per se. So it's sad because I do want to say Bandido's in the same position. He should be the future along with Kyle Fletcher, but Kyle is really just up there in terms of, the full package right now, and he really is proving why he should be moving up into the next bracket soon in terms of, the world championship.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, so out of 5 then, Jaxie, what would you give it?
I gave this a 4 1/4.
4 1/4. Monty?
4.5.
Gina?
Yeah, 4.5 as well, I think.
Yeah, I gave this a 4.5. Predictions, we went Fletcher. It's Monty June on 4. Jackson James are on 2. We got the Dogs versus the Bang Bang Gang next, a double chain match. Connors and Finney attacked their opponents. Fuller ref had a chance to call for the bell or attach the chains completely. Always happens. Once I think was officially underway, Juice and Jay were able to swing momentum in their favour. Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta interfered and tapped White, but the Guns and Ace Austin showed up to help their allies. Marina snuck the shillelagh to Finley, and he used it to now Robertson to get the win. So, Monty, this was a payoff to the feud that started in New Japan, if I'm right.
This was bad, bro. Like so bad. I'm sorry, like for AEW standard, and like maybe you guys could be a little bit nicer, but I wasn't feeling it. The crowd wasn't really feeling it. It also went long. I give them props because they tried to do something different, and I think the wrestlers themselves were put in a tough spot because if you really look at the stipulation, it's really hard to just go out there chained up and just try to fight and make that compelling. You know what I mean? Like I think they were really like they literally were handcuffed, like figuratively and literally in this one, and it was slow, it was painful, and it was just like you would think a match like this was supposed like, especially AEW, they do a good job of making matches like this, in my opinion, fun or at the very least so brutal that it's memorable. But like it just wasn't any of that, man. And like and they tried, and like I know the AEW does a pretty good job with death matches, and Jay White just returned. I feel like you can only go so far. You can't really go like really, really try. It's stupid in my opinion for Jay White to just come off a long hiatus and then be pushed into a situation where he need to kind of, the Darby Allin it out. But again, this is just not interesting in my opinion. And even like you mentioned with the narrative of the New Japan Heat, it tied into it. Then they threw Death Riders into it too, which again, like you mentioned, James, still confusing because at this point we might as well just say the Dogs are just like a subsidiary of the Death Riders or something. Like I don't know, NWO Black and White or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what we want to do. But like at this point, they obviously ride with the Death Riders, and they're the Death Rider Dogs, and it is what it is. But again, I thought this was okay, but like this one always this if you wanted to try something like this, I almost prefer if this wasn't on this card and made this card longer, and you put this on like a collision or something. Because you got to think about it. We do this match right now, and it's at least what 6 more matches like left to this card, and like we got to spend a good 15, 20 minutes pretty much watching this. I just wasn't really into it. Like maybe you guys have convinced me that I'm wrong, but good for the Dogs that they get a victory or whatever. And like I said, but I really felt bad for Jay White because I feel like when you come back, it's kind of like when Eddie Kingston came back from that long hiatus off. You want to give somebody momentum. You want to give them something to sink their teeth into. And I just felt like this was a dud and not really a great way to kind of hype Jay White back up and the Bang Bang Gang for that matter.
Yeah. Gina, I'm getting a feeling Monty didn't like it. There's just a little thought, I guess. But what were your thoughts?
So.
Yeah, I think I'm not.
I mean, I'm sorry to sound like a broken record, but I am with Monty on this. The thing is it's really weird because I think I'm quite a big fan of the Dogs with Clark Connor and David Finlay, and I really do love Jay White and Juice Robinson. So I don't know if I put high expectations on this match because I really like both teams. But yeah, this match it just didn't do it for me. I don't feel like Jay should have and his team should have taken the L here, even though the Dogs always are getting the L's, and I'm always kind of voting for them to get the win. So they've actually finally got the win here, but I don't think it was the right call with Jay coming back again. Like Monty said, he would have had more momentum to get this win over the Dogs here. And they could have still continued the storyline. There's still beef there between Jay and David Finlay, and they could have still continued it with them taking it out here. But for how long it went, I don't think that the payoff was worth it. So yeah, sorry to sound like a broken record with Monty, but I'm kind of with him on this.
No, okay, yeah. And Jack, see, this is the thing, isn't it? AEW is so stacked. It's interesting to see where these guys fit. And there's no doubt Jay White, what we know of him, is one of the best in the world. When like I said, he's being used right and all this kind of stuff. But I think they're in a weird situation at the moment.
Yeah, do you know what the problem is? Is that this is exactly what happened when David Finlay made his arrival onto AEW, had his first sort of pay-per-view match, and then instantly lost it. And then that was like the beginning of sort of what I would say is the downfall of the Dogs, where they've just been on a losing momentum. So technically, yes, they really needed this win. But again, I have to agree with everything my sister and Monty said. Like this match, it was sloppy, but in a way where it was like it wasn't like your average wrestling match. And like Monty said, like with the handcuffs involved as well, like this was just like an actual brawl. There wasn't. I don't think that there could be much momentum to be built up. It was very stop and start, and you just couldn't really get into it. And then to have Jay, who is predominantly sort of a bigger name coming into this than what the Dogs were probably when they came into it, and he's already losing his first match. It just doesn't look good. So I didn't agree with the decision anyway, but I just felt like the match didn't go well in that sense either. It just didn't connect. And I think Monty was right. The audience sounded like quite dead for this, and I don't know if they used a lot of like energy and momentum throughout the previous matches that were just one after the other, but there wasn't as much hype behind, or like coming from the audience, I mean, as I expected to come from like a dog collar like match like that. So yeah, it just lacked, sadly.
Yeah, I don't think there's been that many good dog collar match or even kind of leather strap matches or whatever, biker chain or whatever you want to call it anyway, And I think you do make an excellent point.
No,
It's
I
the
think
same.
you're right there. I'm trying
And
to think of one that actually was like pretty
well,
decent.
the Rock and Triple H had a good one, the strap match back in '99, and that's showing my age, So if anybody's
Yeah.
got anything more recent,
Wasn't there one that there was like a match, where that you have to go to all four corners. There was like one match, I think, was that with Cody Rhodes?
it might have been again
It might have
struggling to remember,
been.
but
Either
it's
way,
it's
there's just one or two that probably
yeah.
stand out in terms of it was brutal, but you can say, oh my gosh, that was amazing because of its constant it's constant, like it's really hard with a collar match. You're up and you're down, like it's stop and it start, so you can really lose the audience quite quickly and then not get
It
that
depends
momentum
on the
back.
storyline. It
Yeah,
depends
Yeah.
how deep that storyline is, really, to be that invested.
yeah,
And also, I think as well, like you said, Jax, when it comes to, we've just had a ladder match. We had Willem Moxley versus the Bucks, and then Bandito and Fletcher, and the crowd do need a break, So again, it's probably this match and go, okay, we'll take a
yeah. I
break
don't
during
know if
this one and get ready for the next
the
one.
yeah,
Yeah,
exhaustion probably did start settling in at that point.
yeah. All right. So scores out of 5. Monty, what would you give it?
I give it a 2 3/4.
Gina,
3.
Jax.
I'm gonna go 2 3/4 too.
I'm going to give him a 3.5 for the effort. Predictions all bang bang, so the perfect scores are over. So Monty and Gina are on 4, Jackson James are on 2. Renee got words with Will. He said he's not trying to kill people. And Moxley says this is pro wrestling. This is you, Moxley. You don't kill people, but someone needs to have a word with John
Right,
Moxley at some point.
please talk, God.
he's, I think he's getting confused between pro wrestling and bounty hunting. Do you know what I mean? I think there's anyway. Hikaru Shida versus Maya Well for the DBS Championship next. They traded strikes for a couple of minutes to get things started, but once Shida took control, she slowed it down a bit so she could be a little bit more methodical. Wherever Maya was able to get some offense, she picked up the pace again. The match came at roughly a halfway point in the show, which is not an easy position in these long pay-per-views. But Maya did a good job playing the underdog to the Buddy Shida, especially once she started selling an injury. Maya survived some brutal moves from Shida before she caught with a pinning combination to get the upset win and become the new TBS champion. Gina, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, this was a good match. I think Shida worked well with Maya, and I think Maya had a lot of backing behind her. I think because Maya had a bit of the Cinderella type story, build up here. She had a lot of backing behind her from the fans anyway. And I think Sheeta just did really well in playing the great heel that kept bullying her and pushing her down. And she was so cocky that she was going to get this win that she did underestimate Maya World. So I think it's good storytelling. Again, from what I said about Sheeta being a bit of a transitional
Yeah.
champion, like this is kind of like what I was referring to, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I don't necessarily think it's hurt Sheeta in a way, because I think she's got her own kind of like standing at this point that we all still love her. And I think everyone was just so behind Maya just getting this win from, being put into the tournament as a fill-in for an injury to actually having won the tournament and now here. It's just a great Cinderella story to tell. So yeah, I think they told the story really well. Sheeta carried her well, but Maya also held her own. So fair play to her, and she deserved the win.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, excellent. I mean, Jackson, that's the thing, isn't it? We just got to see what Maya can do now and see how, if in that position, if she can go with it. Because as Gina said, we know her story now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she's been impressing a lot of people with everything that my sister just mentioned in the tournament and the Owen Cup tournament, and even just solidifying getting this belt, this win. She's really sort of putting the work in, and again, I think that Shida and Maya worked well together. They had some good chemistry, and I think she's just getting a chance to gain a lot of invaluable experience at such a young age. So she just must be on such a high right now. I'm really pleased to kind of see her in this position. I think that the match itself actually was was a lot more entertaining for me to be able to like take in than I think the previous match. But again, I think that there was like just maybe a bit of fatigue when it comes to sort of like the level of aggressiveness that comes with certain male AEW matches, you know, like whether it's a Mox match or it's a, you know, dog collar match or something. So this was just a nice change of pace for me in particular. So I thought it was I thought it was placed quite well in the match card to still be able to pick up, you know, quite a bit of stuff from the audience too.
Yeah, I don't. Monty, I don't think there's much to add, but I would say that I was impressed by your prediction because you did see Maya getting a chance here.
Yeah, I lean that way because, like, again, I think because I don't know if you've been unnoticed, but I don't know. I still don't think Meltzer ever reviewed her match with Mercedes. And like I was looking at the groundswell of support of just like how much people are just kind of rallying behind my work. Even Mercedes is still saying petty stuff about Meltzer to this day about that. So I was just like, I felt like a great reward if you weren't gonna put her over in the end of the tournament and you're gonna get that spot to Mercedes, which of course deservedly so. I felt like a good reward for all the work she's done to get to improve to this point and get over to the extent that she is would be to give it to Sheeta because I think, like mentioned earlier, although we all can see Sheeta running with the belt as a heel and all of that, and that would be cool. Sheeta is at a point to where I feel like she is, she's solidified. It would be believable if she is the champion. I don't think she lose anything by putting over someone like Maya World. I think it's, either way, it works either way. She's in a great spot in my opinion, to where she can make new stars, but also continue to build her own legacy in AEW because she has done a lot already just since AEW's inception. So yeah, I thought this was a great use of her, even if I can understand if someone wanted her to run with it a little longer. I think this is a great use of her, but also a great spot for Maya World to be in because I think especially since they just kind of did the switcheroo for Willow and like Willow is not in this spot out, anymore. I think why not give it to like Maya World to kind of run with it and we can see what they decide to do with it from here. But again, I just went with a. I tried to give her the whole tournament. They didn't do it that way, so I was like, maybe they'll give her the TBS title. And I got lucky. I got lucky.
All right, so scores then. Gina, what would you give this?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this match and I really love Sheeta and Maya World has just worked her butt off to get here. So they both deserve like a shout out for this match anyway, but I'll give them a 4.5.
4.5. Jaxie?
I give this a 4.
For Monty?
Yeah, I'll give it 3 3/4.
I'm going to give it a 4 predictions. Monty went Maya, rest went Cheetah, so Monty's on 5, Gina's on 4, Jackson James are on 2. We've got Cage and Cope versus the Death Riders for the men's tag team champions. Pac and Claudio were firmly in control when the match started. Cage took a little while to recover and got the apron for a tag after being thrown into the steel stairs. It took the Rated R superstar a long time to mount some offense and make the tag to Christian, who'd only just recovered from the pre-match attack. But Cage and Cope picked up the win to retain their titles. The Bucks came out and it was announced they would face the champs at All In. Jaxie, what were your thoughts on this? And are Pac and Claudio an actual proper tag team? Do you know what I mean? I don't want to, semantics and all that lot.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's just any one of the two Death Riders can be considered a tag team, really, because for a while it was Claudio and Daniel Garcia that were always tagging together. I don't know. I don't know. It's not that I didn't think that this match wasn't good. It was okay. This was like, I don't mean to insult any of the wrestlers here, but this was, the pacing of this match felt like it was a match that was best put on Dynamite. I think that because there was not really much build up between Claudia and Pac and Ed, and Cope and Cage, in a way where there was like a real story other than, oh, you guys have got what we want, which is the belts. Like it just felt like yet another tag team that like TK just thought, yeah, let's just chuck those at Cope and Cage at the moment so that, and I don't mean it like this, but so that they can get an easy win, so to speak, even though this shouldn't have been an easy win. Like on paper, you've got someone as talented as Pac, someone as strong like Claudio. They should be a formidable tag team if they were like presented that way. But they aren't really, like, they're not regularly presented as a strong tag team that way. And I don't know why, but I just felt like I was just, it was quite easy to consider this to be like another sort of like quick toilet break match.
Yeah.
And I really don't mean disrespect to any of the wrestlers involved, but I just don't really feel like I was invested in the match itself. Like, I don't feel like there was much storyline. So for me, I felt like this could only end in one way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. There just wasn't enough for the audience to really connect with this match, in my opinion. And like, I personally myself felt quite quiet in this match because I just kind of felt it was a Dynamite based match.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, Monty, this is the thing. I think this is the first AEW pay-per-view I felt where it wasn't really needed because, as Jackson said, with this matchup, you got the Bandido Fletcher matchup, and obviously the main event. And you're thinking, well, those titles aren't changing hands, are they? I know we got other stuff happening, but do you know? I just felt it was like, oh, this is just here.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, I thought this was a solid match. I think Cage and Cope have done a pretty good job as tag champions as far as like match quality. But yeah, I can see investment and just like how serious are we taking? You know, how serious are we taking them as losing this belt? I think it was very predictable. The way everything worked out. The action was good, but like you mentioned, not much suspense. And like you knew, like even when the Death Riders had control, that you kind of knew what was gonna happen. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I am happy. I don't know about you guys, but I'm happy with Christian and Cole being tag champions. But I don't know about like the whole entire tour. I think they've been doing great matches, but at the same time, the build since FTR has been gone feels like we just buying time. We buying time, and it seems like we obviously know we're buying time towards now. They did the stuff with FTR. Now it's time to have a big clash with the Young Bucks, generational type of great tag team clash with them. So again, I don't mind them being on top of the tag division because I do think they are a good team to have there. But I am wondering that like at all in, with I think we all just kind of, I think this was filler, and I think we all can feel that it was filler. And don't get me wrong, it was a good match. I mean, it's a Claudio and Pac were the opponents, so it's not like we were watching Christian and Copeland just go against nobody. But again, I think like you mentioned, you kind of can just see, okay, you knew where this match was going. I don't think anything out of the ordinary or it happened. Although I thought it was a good match, but sometimes when you're safe like that, it does end up feeling like, oh, okay, well, this could have been done on Dynamite, and we could have just had some, either something else here. And I think, like you mentioned, we kind of said that a lot about these shows. And I wonder because Redemption is a new pay per view, and we kind of go into this method with AEW where they're doing more of these big shows. Like, did we have more value in AEW when we had less of these pay per views? It's something that we probably can start to consider. Even though I think we still get great matches all the time, but like, is all of these cards that like this helping AEW or is it watering down AEW? Because you also can get, like we mentioned, a title change on Dynamite. So it's just like, what are we doing these new pay-per-views for if special things can just happen on Dynamite too?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
What are we redemptioning?
Right.
That's
What is the redemption?
yeah, that's the thing. But Gina, again, should Cage and Cope just enjoy their last run? Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't know how long it's going to last. 25 years ago, the last time they were together, you would just be like, look, let's just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I definitely think they should enjoy the ride. I don't know how how many more runs in AEW that they'll lose the belts and come back on top and get them back again, etc., etc. And I don't necessarily think we want that. It's good to have a variety and change. I do agree with Monty. I don't know, it feels like I'm missing FTR a little bit, when it comes to like the tag team division. And I don't know if it's because maybe we saw more of FTR, and I get it, Cage and Cope might not be of that mind to be wrestling every single week on two different shows, etc. But I don't know. Yeah, is it kind of losing the momentum of them a little bit, which is why this match may have felt a bit stale to some. It's nice for us veterans who have grown up watching, Edge and Christian, and now they're Cage and Cope sort of thing. But even for those who are of the newer generation, I do wonder as to how invested they are with Cage and Cope having their run, and whether they would want to see them, remain as tag champs for the next 6 months or 3 months, or whether they're just like, okay, who's next gonna take them because I can't continue to watch this, or please bring FTR back. So it is a push and a pull, because I enjoy, Christian's heelish tactics and Edge sorting him out all the time, and I like that comedic factor of things. But yeah, it is a little bit of the same question that we're giving quite a few people at the moment, like, as in, is it going a bit stale sort of thing? I just feel like, especially with this match, there was no real build up for us to truly go in thinking that Claudio and Pac were going to win this. So it did just feel like a throwaway match that could have been on a collision.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Right, but I was impressed with the graphic teams. I mean, they managed to sort that graphic out for All In with the Bucks and Cage and Cope within a matter of 10 seconds, it seemed. So scores for this, then, Jax, what would you give it?
Um, I'll give this I'll give this a 3.5 still. But like, can I quickly just add, like, this easily, I agree with Monty. Like, I want them to enjoy like this run as the tag champs. But don't you think that even like the smallest bit of story building, from having Cage and Cope coming out on a Dynamite, doing like a short promo saying we want to challenge like the best of the best, but the young as well. We want to challenge those that haven't turned up. What if Austin and Colton Gunn just came out and was like, we want to challenge you for it? I feel like if there was like, just like them giving a bit like them against like a new opponent that they hadn't faced before, maybe that might even have just played a bit better, like giving like the youngest shot at some legends. Like that could have even maybe gone a bit better. I don't know.
They tried that with the
Um,
dogs. I don't think it worked.
Yeah, but the dogs already came in and lost like one match way before this, so they had no shot.
Right.
But you know what I mean. I'm just saying, like, they could have just tried to. I think that like they should be giving Cage and Cope like fresh young new faces to wrestle, because I don't know how much longer they will be wrestling, and surely that's what they want to do, is face new opponents um before the end of the run out or whatever. But yeah,
yeah,
again, that
but
was just an idea or an
no,
example.
I completely agree with you. But then the issue is you have fucking the other half of people going, why are these guys? It's like when Punk was in AEW facing like the young guys, or why are you
Yeah,
wasting a Cope and Cage match against the
I
Guns when he
suppose, yeah,
could be
some
against
people see it that way, won't they? Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, you can't please everyone, I suppose.
Well, opinions like arseholes. Everybody's got one. Monty, what do you give out of 5?
I'll give it a 4.
Give it a 4. Gina?
3 3/4.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 3 3/4. Predictions, we went Cope and Case. So Monty's on 6, Gina's on 5, Jackson and James are on 3. We got Chris Jericho versus Tommaso Ciampa. No holds barred next. They use chairs, a fire extinguisher, and some other weapons to inflict punishment. But it's clear they were intentionally avoiding anything that might make them bleed, at least for a while. Jericho brought some tacks and hockey pucks into the ring. He ended up making Ciampa bleed with some sandpaper, which definitely opened up a gusher. After that, the match picked up a bit and we got more extreme. We saw them break a mirror, and Ciampa grabbed the same drill he had threatened Jericho before, but the Painmaker ended up making Ciampa give up when he used the drill on his head. So, Monty, the Painmaker, you can use drills if it's on pay-per-view, I guess.
Yeah, maybe the security came out a couple weeks back just because of network TV regulation. They ran it by the TV and they were like, "Yeah, I don't think you can drill nobody head on television, y'all. We need to wait until we can do this on pay per view." So again, This was cool, man. I did. This is another match. I think I will say this. I'm gonna be honest. Jericho is benefiting, in my opinion, from me going into his matches not expecting anything great. So when I do come away from the match kind of entertained, I guess. I think I probably have been giving him a little bit too much credit or more credit than maybe he deserved. But I do think in this atmosphere with the Painmaker type of situation, I do think he actually fits right now. And even with the AEW AEW horrorcore match style that they kind of worked in this match, because like you mentioned, the drill, we kind of know exactly what we were gonna kind of get from a match like that, like this. You know what I mean? And I thought it was good from like a deathmatch slash horrorcore perspective. Also, he's Canadian, so again, it was a little bit of that. It's a little bit of I guess the puppet stuff was Canadian stuff. I'm not going to act like I understand it. I'm American, not Canadian, damn it. But I will say though, this was pretty good, and I thought even for somebody who don't like death matches type of stuff, I don't think it was so like you mentioned. I felt like it was pretty tame for AEW standards, although it was still some crazy shit going on. I had fun with it. I think if you don't take so far in Jericho's run, if you don't take it so seriously, it is still probably a such thing as Jericho Vortex. It's kind of like Ricochet. Now we kind of have been dragged into this stuff with Ciampa for a while, so it seems like Jericho when he feuds with somebody, he you have to slot that person as taken away from other responsibilities for at least 6 weeks so they can do Jericho stuff. But again, I thought it was fun. I don't think it was anything wrong with it, even though I can understand if this was another match that you can look at and be like, okay, fine, this was cool, but why am I watching this? Because again, this is one of the lesser important matches on this show also. But I didn't have a problem with it, but it is a long show. So I get it if you like, yeah, nah, this is stupid.
Yeah. I mean, Gene, that as we talk about this matchup, had a lot of stuff going on. We saw Ciampa get victory over Jericho on Beach Break. This was Jericho's obviously victory back, but has Ciampa moved up because of this feud? Do you reckon? Do you know what I mean? Where is he? Well, is he back where he started?
I think he took 3 steps forward and then maybe 2 steps back. I don't know. I think, like you said, Ciampa did get the win over Jericho at Beach Break, but maybe it would have benefited Ciampa if it was the other way round, that Jericho got the win and then eventually ended up coming back and then having this match with him at Redemption and getting that win. The more reason why I say it, maybe it would have been better to do that is because even though I was going to say they're roughly around the same age. I don't even know if they are around the same age, but like Ciampa's the more newer one who's come into AEW. So in my opinion, like I feel like maybe if Ciampa had got this final win over Jericho, it would have elevated him just a little bit more to then go on to a new victim for him to go and try and win against and bring down, you know? I don't know. I did enjoy this match as well. I'll admit. So I don't know if it's because I am a Jericho fan too or a Ciampa fan, but it was a good match because it wasn't necessarily for a belt. It didn't necessarily need to be on this match card or a pay-per-view event. You know, they could have just shortened the event a little bit more by not having this match on there. But I also wasn't really mad at this match either. I enjoyed it all the same.
Yeah, Ciampa's 41 and Jericho's 55. So
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, I feel like Ciampa should have got the win.
it just feels like, I can't believe there's nearly 100 years between them here. Jaxie, I mean, if Jericho's back, but why can't he have a match where he doesn't challenge for any chart titles? Do you know what I mean? Because I'm always worried. Like, is it just going to be like personal feuds now, or is he going to look at gold, or God forbid, try and build another stable?
You know what? I was thinking whether or not he's gonna look to build another stable or not, because like I mean, Jericho actually does love building those type of stables. He does love building that sort of like his own sort of like minions to lead. So you never know whether or not that he goes down that route. I just again, this felt like a bit of a disconnection for me in terms of I felt like it was a decent match. Like I thought this was good for Jericho. He looked good during the match and keeping up with Ciampa. I do agree with what my sister said that I think that it would have been better for Ciampa's momentum if it had been the other way round. Like, you know, Jericho win like the first match, and then Ciampa comes back and win the second match. However, we don't know if there will be a third match where Ciampa can then, you know, kind of like a best of three, like what we saw with Brock and Oba, although it will not be that same level in that sense.
Are you
But you know
comparing
what I
Ciampa
mean.
and Jericho to Brock versus Obafemi?
No,
I've heard.
listen, I'm just talking about the series of three matches, not comparing it in the slightest. That is on the same caliber. So let's
What
not
do you
get
mean?
that.
It's exactly the same.
Just not in Hell in a Cell. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Like Jericho's always up for anything, so he might actually say hell in a spell, but with in a cell, but with spikes on it, just to do one up. Who knows?
Spikes on a cell match would be
There you go.
yeah, the AEW.
There you
There you go.
You know, like, and then he'll just continue the Painmaker character going on into that. Who knows? But I mean, again, sad to say, but I do feel like this was another sort of Dynamite main event based match that could have happened, and I think it would have been a great main event match on Dynamite.
Yeah.
But it didn't really feel like it needed, like, you know, I watched the match and I thought the match was good, but when the match ended, I genuinely was like, why was this on Redemption? Like, why couldn't have this just been on normal TV? Like, again, I think you said this best, James, that like a lot of the matches on this pay-per-view card, sadly for me, just felt like matches that could have been held on Dynamite and actually gotten maybe an even better review, like in terms of the audience, in that sense. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So out of 5 then, Monty, what would you give it?
I'll give it a 4.
Give it 4. Gina?
4.
Jaxie?
3 3/4.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4. Predictions, we went Jericho, so Monty's on 7, Gina's on 6, Jaxie and James were on 4. Divine Dominion was with Mick Foley. I mean, it was going all right until Mick Foley started barking. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Gina, is this something that the kids do now that I don't realise? Am I meant to be barking at you girls? Is that what it is?
If that is the case, then I wouldn't have a clue. So I would have preferred if Mick didn't do that. It was a bit awkward.
I think that's a selective fetish right there, James. Don't go barking at all women, okay?
No, don't go. Don't wind down the window. Just you know.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Don't
No,
do that.
Right. Okay.
Don't copy Mick Foley.
Bad James. Hit him with a newspaper. Yeah. Oh dear. Anyway, moving on. Mark Davis versus Andrade El Idolo for the national championship, and Andrade almost stole the win right at the gate with a big elbow strike, but Davis was able to kick out and back into the corner for some shoulder thrusts. Andrade stayed aggressive, but Dunkzilla stayed in the fight. This was a highly physical back and forth match that gave both men plenty of opportunities to shine. Davis leaned into his power game, and El Idolo did a great job finding counters for it. After a hard-fought battle, Andrade was able to get the win and become the new national champion. Gina, how you know?
How you know, James? How you know? How you know? Yeah, do you know what? This match was good. I didn't mind it. I think there's a lot of hype behind Andrade at the moment. Everyone's backing him because they love his saying of how you know. They love that he's kind of another one who's joined the ranks of Takeshita in terms of kicking back against the Don Callis family. And anytime someone sticks the middle finger up to the Don Callis family, you become the audience's new favorite, in my opinion. They just really hate Don Callis. So yeah, I thought it was a okay match, and Mark Davis, I was really happy for him when he got this belt, because I did feel that he was one of those wrestlers that had come over and was just sidelined as the guy to take all the L's. So it was nice to see him get that win and have that belt, but it was really nice to see Andrade just give it back to him, to be honest, and kick his ass in a way, because he's really needed it. So yeah, I enjoyed it. For me, this is like one of those ones that's like when you've been waiting to see a wrestler get their ass kicked. So it's kind of like, you know, satisfactory to watch in that sense. It wasn't necessarily high pressure in terms of, for me, in terms of the belt. It was more a case of I was just wanting one of Don Callis's men to take an L, because right now they're really on top. So yeah, it was good to see, and I'm happy for Andrade. He's got a lot of hype behind him still, so you may as well continue with this momentum.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to talk about Andrade and his penis coming up in a minute. But before we get to the good action, and Drew McIntyre, I have not forgotten about you, all right? Jaxie, it's funny because we moan about, you know, lack of tag teams and all that lot. And Aussie Open, I had a classic with FTR as well a couple of years ago. But great tag team. They split them up, and I was like, there is no chance. But it's funny how successful Davis and Fletcher have been in singles competition. You know, they've been doing great.
It is true. Like, I think even I might have said it myself when they first split Aussie Open up. I was like, you know, maybe there's hope for Kyle Fletcher in that sense. But what's going to happen with Mark Davis? But he's been quite impressive, and they've both had great runs, individually. So yeah, like they both proved everyone wrong in that sense. But I do think this was a good match. I think it was enjoyable. This went the right way. I think, you know, Andrade tried AEW once. It didn't really work out. First of all, he went away, went back to AEW. That didn't work. WWE, that didn't work out. But him coming back and like just his change up with his persona work and everything like that is working well. So I felt very pleased for him to pick up the win here.
No, I completely. I mean, Monty, this is the thing, isn't it, with Andrade, is that I think I compare him, because obviously, you know, with New Japan and all the other stuff in Mexico, to where he was in NXT, obviously with Zelina Vega and him. And I think this Andrade is on that level and even got a bigger ceiling now. You know, as long as he keeps doing what he's been doing, he's been excellent.
Yeah, I think that was my biggest takeaway from this. Is like I think I jokingly was like, did this match finally answer the question of how we know? But no, I don't. I'm not. I don't think it did. I thought it was a good match, but we do know that he is now finally a champion in AEW, which is cool. And I think this match could have benefited from more of a narrative between the two, possibly. But like I don't want to say this is a match that could have been done elsewhere, because at this point in the card, I think you guys kind of get the theme of our review of Redemption probably. But I will say that again, I was very happy for Andrade because I do think he deserves it. I think, like you mentioned, he's whether he shot himself in the foot, whether it was promoters shooting him in the foot, whatever it may be, he finally have seemingly arrived and finally seemed to have his head on right, and just seem to be in the best, in the good mode when it comes to finally being able to be on top of a promotion or be towards the top of the promotion. 'Cause I do feel like he has definitely so far this year been one of AEW's better performers. He got the catchphrase working. He probably needs to work. He probably needs to get the snap on pants. He probably needs to talk to Angel, because I did notice he struggled a little bit in getting his pants down today.
Oh, I don't
So he
mind the
probably talked to
weight.
Angel
I
Garza.
don't mind the weight and the jiggling.
Oh, you
Come
like
on,
you like
Monty.
that? You like how?
Come on.
Okay, okay, all right,
Some of
okay.
us
It's a
like
little
to watch the
striptease.
struggle.
Yeah, the
Right.
struggle's
Okay.
real. All
Okay.
right,
Okay.
it's real.
So okay, I didn't know that. I didn't think. I'm thinking that maybe you like to snap off like Angel Garza. He just gets them off fast. But okay, cool. Maybe he's on to something. A little strip tease or something. Maybe he's on to something. But either way it goes, again, I'm very happy for him because I do think he worked hard. Like you mentioned, Mark Davis, I thought he did good. The national title. I do wish that I cared more for some of these belts, like the national title or international or the whatever other belt that they got mid card. I really wish they mattered more. But at the same time, I think although I think this is a good stepping stone. Maybe if he can show that he can be trusted and continue to deliver good matches and be interesting with the national title, maybe that can be what AEW needs to see to give Andrade a chance at really being a chance, finally getting this opportunity to hold the world championship. Because if you remember, James, coming out of NXT, he was definitely touted as that guy who could finally be that next Mexican world champion, of course, following in the footsteps of Rey Mysterio. So, I think although the lineage is a little bit different when it comes to AEW, I do think Andrade, if he continues on this path and continues to put on great performances, I don't see anything wrong with potentially looking at him with an AEW title run next year or something like that. But I think again he got to show that he can be trusted and continue to work hard, and I think he will because he seemed to be like you said. This is definitely if NXT is the best run he's ever had, this is definitely right next to it right now because he's been on a great run.
Yeah, he really has. So out of 5, then Gina, what would you give it?
I'll give it a 4.
Give it 4. Jax?
I've gone 4 too.
Monty?
Yeah, 4.
Yeah. Predictions all went Andrade. So Monty's on 8, Gina on 7, Jackson James on 5. Speedball wants Fletcher in Mexico, but before we even get there, we've got Tekla versus Willow Nightingale for the Women's World Championship. And Willow was looking to win the only title that was eluding her so far. And as soon as she got hands on the champion, she grabbed her and hit a spine buster. And she beat on Tekla for a little while before sending her right out the ring with a pounce. But the Toxic Spider avoided the cannonball, and Willow went right into the steel stairs. The wound of Willow's ear was bleeding through the bandage after Tekla pulled at it. So she started focusing a lot of the attacks on that spot. She continued to go after the injury. Mercedes Moné was watching from the crowd, reminded she is waiting for whoever's next in line. The Toxic Spider group were frustrated each time she failed to put Willow away. Sky Blue saved Tekla from being pinned, and the momentary distraction allowed the champion to hit a spear, but Willow avoided the stomp that followed and used a backside to score the win and become the new Women's World Champion. Jaxie, what were your thoughts on this?
You know, I thought Thekla and Willow actually worked well together. I thought that they kind of really sold some great spots for both women really well. And we kind of all knew that there was going to be like interference from, the Sisters of Sin. So I think it just did like what it really set out to do in terms of like a women's match and building up the likely hero of Willow overcoming the Spider, who has been just a consistent bully since joining the division, and this is a lot of retribution and payback after, how crazy and hectic Thekla was. Even if it was to a different company, it still was just like, someone really needed to put the Spider down. And that was Willow. I think she did a great job. I think that this was probably the better decision. I feel like that there's a lot more chemistry, from my opinion anyway. Please do correct me if I'm wrong on that sense, but I feel like there's probably a lot more chemistry between Willow and Mercedes to probably pull off like All In a different way that maybe it wouldn't have been with Thekla versus Mercedes. So overall, I think that the right decision was made. But also, I was just overall pleased for Willow. I think she's been a brilliant, consistent wrestler. I think it was quite quick that she was kind of thrown into this when she was just the TBS title. But you know what? She went and she shot her shot and she got it. And I'm proud of her. I really love this character. I don't think Willow should ever change the character that she is. She resonates with the audience so well. She's very relatable, and she's just such a big ball of fun to like be around. You pick up off of her energy, and you can't help but smile back at her when she's like wrestling in the ring. So yeah, I enjoyed this match.
Yeah, without a doubt. And like we said, I mean, Monty, the thing is Tekla had a great run, which is a bit of a shame. She won't get to All In, but like we said, with Mercedes, Moné there, and Willow, they've got a history and a story. And Willow's been a Grand Slam champion, but that has been in the last 12 months, which again is another crazy achievement.
Very AEW too, by the way, to just have somebody accomplish all of that at that, I don't want to say crackhead pace, but yeah, at a very quick pace. To kind of do that. But I mean, Willow deserves it. Don't get me wrong. I was definitely hurt by this. Y'all know I'm toxic. I was loving the Toxic Spider on top. I kind of was hoping not that she would win because of it, like you said, the story with Mercedes told itself. It makes sense. Mercedes got injured and like Law had to lose the belt to Willow in the past, and like they've had both kind of have had run-ins at different times. And like if Mercedes is going to climb that mountain and become champion, it would be a great story if she could do it to Willow, but also if Willow stops her again, I think that would also still be like, what does Mercedes? Where does Mercedes go from there? Does Mercedes break if Willow beats her and she still does not become world champion? Like, it's a compelling story. Don't get me wrong. Probably way more compelling than it would have been if like you would have to like shift Mercedes' character for the bit to go against Tekla. But I was kind of just interested because I was like, when Mercedes won the tournament, I was literally wondering. I was like, do you do heel versus heel? Like, I've never even like face versus face happens, but like heel versus heel for a world title does not happen. So that's kind of why I kind of figured once Willow kind of returned and was there, that this is probably her moment. But again, I like you mentioned, you can't really be mad at it because like Tekla kind of came. I don't think when they signed Tekla, or even when Tekla got to the top of the mountain, that they thought that they would be like blessed with the character and like the great heel work that she was able to do and like hold down in this division while Mercedes was gone, while Tony Storm is out, and all of that also. So again, like you mentioned, Tekla had a great run. I loved every second of it. I hope that they don't just like put her in obscurity, her and Julia and the girls, like Sisters of Sin. I hope they don't just have to go away now and not be important because she's not champion. I think they should keep her around, whether it's this belt, whether it's going after Maya World, whatever they need to do. I just think Tekla should be involved and be on television because she's a genuinely compelling women's wrestler. But I know how AEW kind of works. They kind of have a revolving door with their ladies, and if you're not the main focus of a story, who knows? She can be like Thunder Rosa, and we can barely ever see her until they trot her
She'll
out
be in
for
the
a random
crowd.
match. So I
Yeah.
hope I'm wrong. Right. I hope I'm wrong. And I hope they continue to just put time and invest in Tekla without the belt. But like Willow deserves this. Don't get me wrong. Is great. Who else would you rather? Like we mentioned, she's been a workhorse. Kind of like when Chris Statlander won the women's title at that time. And we've all was just like, you know what? Like she is really deserving. She's done so much for the women's division. Willow is right there. So I think honestly, how can I be mad at that? Because we're getting Mercedes versus Willow with a story. Because I know if AEW smart and since Mercedes is involved, they're going to actually tell the story. So again, I think this is going to be this end up being a really good result. It was a fine match, even though I was kind of hurt that Tekla lost.
Yeah. The main thing, I'm surprised no one said it yet. And Gina, I mean, I'll ask you this question, and I'm sure you will agree with me. Like, why couldn't this match main event? Like, seriously, why couldn't this match main event, especially with a title change?
Yeah, I will admit, we'll talk about the main event shortly. And so this could kind of back a little bit of our reasonings as to why we feel it should have been main event worthy. But I totally agree. This should have been the main event. It was that big. And again, I think we've all just made a note of how effective Willow has been in the women's division, just like Chris Statlander was. This was one of those things that I think her winning the women's belt, she's gone for that women's belt how many times now, guys? She's gone against so many opponents and she's not got the belt. I feel like it was kind of underutilized a bit. Like it was still a big deal, yes, but I think it could have been bigger for her. It could have been a bigger celebration, a bigger achievement, and just ended the show on a high. Not to say that the show didn't end on a high, but I'm just saying this possibly would have elevated it to a higher level. So I totally agree with you on that sense. And one thing I will say about Thekla is that I do hope that we still get her having her own side storyline, maybe of still having maybe stardom people come across and still have a grudge with her for what she's done. And I would just love for her to still, even if she doesn't have a title in her goal at this moment in time, I would still love to see her just wreak havoc, and cause more problems that brings more stardom people over to fight her. So for me, that would be something that would be really good to just keep her and Sky Blue and Julia on the scene, even if they're not involved in any belt picture at the moment. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Thekla goes from here.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, so scores then, Jack. So what would you give it?
Let's go at 4 3/4 for me.
4 3/4. Monty.
Yeah, I give it a 4.
Gina.
4.5.
4.5 predictions. I've gone 4.5 as well. All went Willow. So Monty's on 9, Gina's on 8, James and Jaxie are on 6. The point the main event came around was 4 hours and 6 minutes into the show. All right. So if people are wondering why our AEW reviews are so long, it's because they're 5 hours fucking long. All right. And I love AEW, but sometimes, fuck me, man. Anyway, main event, we're nearly done. Kenny Omega versus Kevin Knight for the Men's World Championship. And like we saw a lot on the night as well, Omega was attacked before the bell to get an unfair. Kevin Knight got an unfair advantage. He even used his wrist tape to choke the champion, for the referee could break them apart. Even though Omega kept making brief comebacks, Knight had the upper hand for long stretches of time. Knight tried a few dirty tactics, but the one-winged angel put him down for the 3 count. The real story is what happened afterwards. The Death Riders attacked Omega as soon as it was over, and Ospreay came out to defend him. He chased most of them off, but Moxley wanted to get into his head. He handed Will a plastic bag and told him to finish his job. It looked like he was considering it, but he ended up tearing it up and then decking Moxley to knock him out of the ring. He fought with the rest of the Death Riders while Omega tried to recover. He and Ospreay shook hands, but a moment later, Omega grabbed him and hit the one-winged angel, and the show ended with Omega posing with the title as the crowd booed. Right, so 2 things there. First, the match, and then what happened afterwards. So, Monty, what do you think of the matchup? Kevin Knight stepping up, much like Cole Fletcher did, I think, when he was TNT champion. What were your thoughts on the match?
I love the sentiment of the match. I like the story. I like the idea. Because I do believe like giving a young guy like Kevin a shot at the championship is like that's necessary because I get on WWE all the time. I get on other promotions all the time for never actually trying to promote a good star. So I love what it means. Like it signifies how seriously they are actually taking Kevin Knight, and I like that. And like you said, you can debate whether or not this match is necessary, just due to the fact that I think the thing it had going against it the most was that I don't think any of us was convinced, no matter what they did, that Kevin Knight was going to win. But I do think it was still a good match, and I think they wrestled well. They told a really good story, and even though I think Keith Knight was still a decent challenger, even if you can be like, no way that we thought Kenny was not going to win because we know what we're obviously building to, and like it was kind of hinted at after the match, but. Again, I think Kenny being able to defend the world title in Canada too was kind of special for anybody like me who's a longtime Kenny Omega fan. I mean, honestly, I love it. I like AEW. I've grown to really like AEW, but the only reason why I ever was invested in ever enjoying AEW is because I like Kenny Omega. Him and like I always mention Shinsuke Nakamura or Kyle, they got me in the New Japan. So seeing it is you. Sometimes I do get emotional watching him be able to get this run, knowing what he's been through and all of that. And I know that what we're leading towards in All In is probably going to be pretty special. So, but like what we got here, in my opinion, is still special because again it was no telling when Kenny Omega would be in this position again. So it's really, really cool to just watch him defend it in, like I said, in his own country. Also, uh, again, against a young up and coming star, which again I think is pretty awesome too, because again, who knows when he'll be able to fight a Kevin Knight at this precipice or at this point in his career. So again, I thought it was solid. I really did. But honestly, Kenny was also dominant enough to me too, to where it told the right story. Because I think if you look at how Kenny finished the match and just how he won it, he was better than Kevin. Like Kevin just wasn't ready yet. And I think that's a cool story to kind of go back to maybe down the line when Kevin is finally ready to take that next step. So I thought it was good. Even if it wasn't like an insane classic type style match, I did think it was a really compelling match, and they did a really good job, especially in a spot where I think you can predict the finish or predict who's coming out on top. Now, do you want to talk about after the match now, or do you want to just
I'll
start with the
switch.
match?
I'll switch to Gina. Yeah. Like I said, Knight is a few ways. Knight is a few years away from this position. I do think he suits the face more than a heel. But Gina, again, Monty made a point there, a bit like Cope and Christian. This is Kenny's last run, so should we just enjoy it? Do you know what I mean? We know he's got his match with Will Ospreay, which should be a classic, and do you know what I mean? We should just be glad we're seeing Kenny one last time.
Yeah, 100%. Again, I don't know when they'll be back in Canada and whether Kenny will be champion at that time for him to defend it in his sort of home country. So I think it's awesome that they were able to put this on here for him. And if they get to do it a second time, even better, I don't want to sound like we're sort of making Kenny use and abuse his body, but the more we get to see out of him, out of however much time we've got, I'll take it. So, and I think that's a lot of Kenny fans will say the same thing. So, yeah, it's just, I don't want to think about when Kenny decides to fully retire, but it's nice to see that he's still able to have these opportunities. And I think Kevin Knight was a great opponent to showcase him against, He's young and upcoming and he's cocky and needed putting in his place. So that's what Kenny did. I enjoyed it. It was a great match to see them both in.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, so let's go. Jaxie, let's talk about Moxley then, losing control and trying to get Osprey using plastic. The old Mox comes back, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? Like you can
It's just
take.
like, when Palpatine comes back in Star Wars and you're like, well, fuck off. So kind of convince him to go down the dark side. Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I kind of, when I was watching that whole end segment, I kind of was like shouting at Will, in a way where I was kind of like, why are you bothering to get involved at this point? And when Kenny just, turned on him and gave him the one winged angel, I kind of didn't blame him. Like he's forever going to be in this state of flux where he's kind of like, will he or won't he turn on me in a way where it's going to be Death Rider aggressiveness or not? Like Kenny just went, fuck it, I'm going to take you out before you could take me out because you can't make your mind up. That or that's how I took it anyway. He was just like, I'm not having this. So yeah, like I think that this also goes to show the naivety of Will still, of wanting to believe in like the good in human beings and not really looking at this as like, I am this opponent that is trying to take this belt from him. So I think, this is a wake-up call for Will. I think it's needed. It was needed in the sense of, you're not fighting your mate, Will. You are fighting a champion, and he will do what it takes to stay that way. And he just proved that. And that's what I felt came out of that ending.
But Monty, I mean, we've talked about dumb baby faces before. And is this just a dumb move by Will to make the Death Riders an enemy before the biggest match of his career?
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't even really think about it that way, but that's true. It at the very least it does. Like, did you watch the show at all when you was hurt? With like, who? Like, did you forget who you like kind of just been running around with? Like, they all still the Death Riders. Like, this is kind of their thing. Like I've been mentioning, so it does make you look at Osprey twice and be like, when they invited you to the Fight Club and they was like rehabbing your neck, did you really think? Did you just forget that not one, Moxley was the reason your neck was hurt anyway, kayfabe wise, and two, like, did you just think that they were just gonna like, oh, well, we'll just let Will do his own thing, but we'll let you be like from when this happened, the moment it happened, like Kenny, in my opinion, although he was getting booed, which I can understand why, at the same time, it was like you can logic it and be like, oh, well, to be fair, the Death Riders just attacked me, and you are the one that's walking around with Death Riders patch, and you know what I mean? You basically were one of them, or like at least before tonight, yeah, or at the night of this happening, you were one of them. So it's like, fight or flight situation. Kenny's gonna fight, and he chose to do that. But like, even if you want to look at it the other way and just like why Kenny would do that, honestly, like I think Jackson just kind of put it in perfect perspective. Like at the end of the day, at some point you're gonna have to do something. Like we can be friends, but you know more than like Osprey, you know more than anybody how badly Kenny wants to be on top and wants to be champion. So if that means he has to, beat up Osprey or like that he has to, defend himself or beat down Osprey to get there, I don't think Kenny would have hesitated. And it's like, how seriously are you taking this, Osprey? Because you should kind of be in that same mode, like in that regard, but you still want to have morals, you still want to be a good guy. But like it does make you wonder. Like I do agree. Like, I didn't think about it that way. Like, do you really want the Death Riders to also like you already got the Don Callis family who still hates you now? You want the Death Riders to not be on your side along with Omega in the Young Bucks and like that whole type of thing. So it's like you really are stacking the odds against yourself in this situation. So I didn't even think about it that way, but like
That's the terms of the United Empire either. So I'm not really sure if they're going to be willing to be fly
yeah,
over, from Japan just
it's
to help them.
awkward.
Everybody's just pissed off with Will. Like that's
Right. It's awkward with everybody right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it does make it interesting and does make you wonder. But like I definitely came away from it thinking like Osprey, do you not? And then there's another thing too. Let's say he was just injured and not watching because like sometimes you get you're away from work, you just want to decompress, you don't want nothing to do with wrestling. Let's say he just did that. They're called the Death Riders, Osprey. Like this is just what like come on, it's like in the name that they're gonna be brutal. And like the plastic bag, like you should be well aware of who you're dealing with. Like I don't think, like you mentioned, like Moxley has not hidden the fact. Like you just mentioned, what did he say earlier in the night, James? We're here to kill people. So I'm just saying, like, what? I don't know why Osprey still is thinking about it. Like, either you run down there and you're ready to do the job, or you're going to get exactly what he got. So again, I thought it was cool though. It was very compelling. I will say that it was compelling, and I do think Kenny, because Osprey is so like having such a conflicted moment in this thing, I think Kenny trying to reverting back to his bad side as world champion makes perfect sense also because I think the more compelling story to me at this stage is now that Kenny is back on top of the mountain. Look how desperate he became to where he's already reverting back to like belt collector or cleaner because in case you guys don't know, like Kenny is usually when he's on top has been been a bad guy. So he reverted right back to who he usually is. So I like it. I really like it.
But yeah, I think that's it. And Gina, I'll ask you this question because it's probably the last one we talk about as well. With Will Ospreay at All In, will he need to cross the line to beat Kenny Omega? Does it mean that he feels that he can't beat, or he feels he can beat him 1-on-1? And is Kenny basically telling him that you can't, or he will go the extra mile to get the job done? Do you know what I mean? It's quite interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe that's what they're aiming for. They were thinking, okay, let's maybe show that Will is still struggling with that side of bringing it out, and Kenny becoming the cleaner is going to have to force him into that position. Maybe that's what they're thinking to do. But we'll just have to see what route he decides to take. I just think he's an idiot. It's like you've been running with these guys for weeks now. You should have known to expect it. It's a very rookie mistake, I think, to make on his part. So yeah, we'll have to see what he pulls out the bag for this final win because I think Death Riders are going to be like, oh well, you chose what route you wanted to go, Will. So you do your own thing now. We tried to show you the ways, so we'll see what you do with this. So yeah, it will be interesting to see how Will responds to this in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I know Omega and Ospreay are going to be amazing at All In, but with Moxley's involvement, it does make you think, oh, maybe a triple threat would have made more sense because then you've got well, I say defined heel with Moxley, you haven't, have you? But do you know what I'm saying? At least you've got the, Mox going, can you beat me? Can you beat Kenny? But like we said, we'll see what happens. Scores for the main event, Monty, what would you give it?
Give it a 4.25.
4.25. Gina?
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.25 as well.
And Jax?
4.25.
4.25. Yeah, I'm going to give it 4.5. Predictions all went Omega. So final scores: James and Jackson on 7, Gina on 9, and Monty on 10. So Monty with the win. Congratulations, Monty.
Wow, I do know something about wrestling. Damn, I even surprise myself sometimes. Sheesh. I've been on a losing streak. I needed this one, so I take.
Yeah. So AEW League at the moment, I'm on 1, Jackson Monty on 3, Gina on 4. Overall,
You on what, Jay? You on what?
and we're moving on. This was like this podcast felt. This was 5 hours long pay-per-view. All right, so I'm just not having it. I understand there was one match on 0 hour, but that was still an hour. That's still an hour. So you got 6 hours. It's just too much AEW, but it's the same stuff we're saying basically every week as well. Jaxie, I've got your match here. I think you picked Willow versus Tekla as your match of the night. You go at 4 3/4. So
Yeah.
who's your MVP? Who's your MVP and what would your score be out of 10?
I'm gonna give MVP to Willow. I think she just deserved the belt. She's kind of became Grand Slam champion overall, so I'm gonna give MVP status to Willow. Out of 10, I gotta admit, I still feel like there was just more like Dynamite based matches on there than there was high like pay-per-view worthy caliber matches. So for that reason, I'm gonna give it a 7.5, and I think that's really good for me. So yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes you're a real bitch.
Yes,
So
I am. I'm acknowledging
it.
that, and I actually think I did pretty well with that. With 7.5, yeah.
Right, Monty, you've got a couple of matches to pick between Bandido Fletcher, and Willow Tekla, basically.
Yeah, I'm going Bandito and Fletcher. I think that was by far that's probably the one match that I'll probably tell people to come back to come see if you're some random weirdo who's just like, hey, I want to watch AEW Redemption. What should I watch it for? You should probably watch it for the Fletcher and Bandito match.
I want to watch a pay-per-view before All In. Have you got that? Yeah, of course you can.
Right. Yeah, random filler pay-per-view. That's my overall review. I probably get this whole thing. I think it was some great stuff on here. The match quality might not reflect my actual review number, but I think this definitely deserves a 7 or like 6 3/4, something like that, because I just don't think I think we just came away from it looking at a lot of this stuff being like, why the hell did we need to do this? Like, you honestly could have made AEW, you could have made Redemption or Dynamite special, like AEW Dynamite Redemption, and made it 3 hours, did this show, cut some of the fat off, and then like we would have been happy. Or turn one 3 hours to Dynamite and another 2 hours for a Collision, pack them together, call them both Redemption. You get this show, and I think we wouldn't have batted an eye because again, like you said, it is a such thing as too much. Now I'm not saying don't give me good wrestling as
One
much
key
as
for
possible. Give
AEW
me good
president.
don't give me good. I'm not saying don't give me good wrestling, like as much as possible. But I do believe sometimes AEW can like. It's crazy that you can have so much of a good thing to where I'm just like, slow the hell down, please, and do some of this time or spread this out a little bit. Like, wow. And I'm not saying turn into WWE where we got fucking rappers wrestling Baron Corbin. Don't get me started on that. But I am saying like we don't necessarily need all of this stuff to be happening, like especially on one show in a 5 hour pay-per-view, because I'm kind of tired of reviewing 5 hour shows. But also like it's just like we can get a title change, a fantastic match with a stipulation on Dynamite, then 3 weeks later we have the same rematch on a pay-per-view on a 5 hour. So it's crazy. Like I don't understand why is things booked in that way all the time. But I'm looking forward to All In. But I think this show was probably like a 7 overall. Like, great matches, don't get me wrong. I think AEW is carried by how great their talent is sometimes, because I do think the booking and like the way things are kind of put together and like the fact that they wanted to sit there for 6 hours at a time and just watch all of it is insane.
Who's your MVP as well?
Kenny.
Go Omega. And Gina, you've got to pick between Bandido Fletcher and Willow Tekla as well.
Willow and Tekla will be my match of the night, and I'll give my MVP to Maya World for getting her first big belt win, because she smashed it. So, overall score, I'm gonna say 6 3/4. I really vouch for what Monty just said. This would have been so much better as a 3 hour Dynamite and an abridged 2 hour Collision. That would have been perfect. Tony Khan, please listen to this, or at least to Monty.
Yeah, don't listen to any of else. So I'm gonna say the match tonight, Bandido versus Kyle, 7.5 for me, and MVP is Willow. Before we go, Gina, your final thoughts on AEW from what we've reviewed from this podcast.
AEW still has way too much talent and doesn't know what to do with it. They just there's a lot of people who are sat there who are not necessarily in catering, but just doing sort of tournament matches because there's no storylines set for them for the show. simple enough. Just don't use them and make it a shorter show for us, please. Or if not, can you just start writing some decent storylines, because you really need to utilize the talent you got before they jump ship. And we know that a bunch of contracts are coming up soon, so we'll see. There's going to be some big changes coming up, people. So just strap in for the roller coaster, because it's still coming.
Yeah, without a doubt. So that is it. Don't forget, across all social media, X at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Pod James. You can find the entire WNR team on the banner. Jaxie, where can people find and follow you?
I'm across Twitch and Twitter at Jaxie Scarlett.
And Monty.
At my Monty Pod.
And of course, Gina.
At Purple Pain.
And send us an email at WNRpodcast@gmail.com, and YouTube is on the podcast, but it's celebrating 11 years of the WNR with shorts and clips and just everything that we've got on there. Of course, the podcast is live on YouTube, also on SoundCloud, on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. Our next episode will be NXT Update, and we are getting ready for a heat wave, but we will be all back together in just 2 weeks' time for the all-in review. So we are going to catch up with AEW sooner rather than later. But until then, I've been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. Jaxie, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me. As always, it's been a pleasure.
Of course, the mind of Monty. Monty, a win. And like I said, you've been on a bit of a losing streak. I see Jaxie didn't mention her losing, but I know you won, Monty. So it means she lost.
Yeah. I won the pay-per-view that probably shouldn't have happened. So I'll take it.
Yeah.
Thanks for the random extra show, Tony.
You won the pay-per-view everybody hated.
Right.
Gina, and of course, the genius of Gina. It's always a pleasure, never a chore.
Oh, thanks, James. Yeah, I didn't get the full win this time, but I'm happy being, 1 point away. So I still feel like the confidence was warranted today.
Yeah, and at least Jaxie didn't win, so we've got that,
Yes, James. Yes, James.
Watch my comeback next time. Watch it.
I got it's time to go. All right, then. Thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.